kuuza sura, wataki kuuza sera. Undugu ni kufana, sitasimama maovu yakitawala, sitasimama maovu yakitawala. Viva comrades, viva! More power to the people, more power. More power to the revolution, more power. Thank you very much.
A round of applause. So the very immediate next segment is first-hand account, narratives and testimonials of various victims. We are going to start with the victims of police brutality, and this segment is going to be led by Linus Mwashigadi. Over to you.
A very good morning to all of you. We welcome you to the Citizens Assembly here today. In this session, we will get to hear from the victims themselves what they faced, their first-hand accounts. For those that are joining us virtually, we welcome you, and you can join in the conversation. For the first speaker, I'd like to call Nadia Nthia to come up and to take us through her experience and the police brutality she met during her protest. You can begin with explaining who you are, and perhaps there or here. Okay, you can just have a seat here. And then we can have a series of questions, and then we will open the floor for Q&A. For those that are here, you can join by reserving your questions, and those that are live, you can also post your questions online. Is it on?
No, it's not.
It's on. It's on. Thank you so much, Nadia, for being brave and coming forward to share some of your experiences and the police brutality that you met while you were protesting. Let's begin by you introducing yourself. Who is Nadia, and why did you protest? Let's begin from there.
Good morning. My name is Nadia Nthia. I am a lawyer. I am an advocate trainee at the Kenya School of Law, admitted to the Advocates Training Program 2024-2025. And I joined the movement majorly because I believed in the cause. We were fighting the system over economic policies that were set to disproportionate the common mwananchi. So that was my motivation. That was my motivation. We need a society that works for all of us. We need systems that work. So, yeah.
What are some of your experience, if you can recount and tell us? What did you experience?
Wow, I experienced quite a lot. I was abducted. About 2 or so weeks ago with my partner. And according to our captors, they had been trailing me for about a week before they took me, just waiting for the order to say, okay, now you can take her. And the day before they took me, I moved out of my house temporarily. I went to stay with my partner because I believed I was gonna be safe there. But they found me even there. My phone had been off for like 2 days. I was communicating majorly with my laptop. I had my apps on my laptop. My phone was off because I had been told they were tracking me using my number. So, yeah, I was saying, sorry, ADHD. The day before they took me, I had come from school, from the Kenya School of Law. I wasn't using my phone entirely. Even the trip that I took from the Kenya School of Law to the house, my partner had to request from his phone, and I was paying for things in cash. It was crazy. I was living in fear for about a week before they took me. I was purely, entirely in hiding, but they still found me. So anyway, So at around 6 p.m. the day before, I got to the house and something just told me, you know what, check the window, like look outside. And I checked and I saw a silver SUV parked outside and 3 men got out of it. So I called my partner at that time using my laptop on WhatsApp. And I told him, okay, you know what? There is a silver SUV parked outside. There are 3 guys moving around. I'm scared that they're going to take me right now. I don't know what to do. So he tells me, no, just calm down, breathe, observe, text me everything, like tell me everything that's going on. I'm on my way. So I observed them for about half an hour. They were just moving around. It was like surveillance of some sort. So they were moving around, observing the area. I don't know what they were trying to find really, but that went on for like half an hour. Then they left. And around the same time they were leaving, he arrived. I was so scared. I was rooted to one spot of the living room the entire time until he got there. Then I was like, oh, Fuchs, now I can breathe. So that evening went by. It was very calm. It was peaceful. We slept.
What was your emotional state at that point?
My anxiety was so bad. I was having panic attacks after every couple of hours. It was insane because the day before they had taken my friend Shadrach, so I had a feeling that they were gonna come for me next, especially if they went through his phone. Yeah, so that evening went by it was calm, it was quiet, we slept. I wasn't able to sleep much during that period because, of course, nerves, anxiety. So at around 4 a.m., I hear movements outside. So I'm like, okay, maybe it's the neighbors coming, getting home from somewhere. And I brushed it off as nothing. And then they knocked. They knocked at our door. And I brushed that off as well. But the knocking got louder and louder. And at that point, I woke him up. I was like, they're here. They've come for me. And before that, I had typed out a tweet on my laptop that I was going to send out when they came. It was like, wamenichukua. But I didn't even have time to send that out. I didn't even have time to send that out. Yeah, so I woke him up. I told him, there's someone at the door. So he got up. I'm scared, I'm shaken. It is so loud. They wanted to break down the door at that point. They shouted something at him in Luo, Nyerere something. He later told me it meant, open this door or we're gonna break it down. Mm-hmm. So he went to the door. I stayed in the bedroom, scared as hell. I'm still in my nightwear. I was fixed to that spot. I didn't know what to do. He went to the door, he opened it. As soon as he opened it, they put him down. Blindfolded him, tied him up, came in to look for me. They were 7 with guns as big as me.
Could you tell their faces?
No, I could not. They were wearing baklavas, they were masked up, so I could not see their faces at all. But I could just hear voices. It was just the voices. So they put him down, came into the bedroom looking for me. Mm-hmm. I saw their guns and, dude, I'm very short. So when I tell you their guns are as big as me, I saw them and the first thing that came to my mind was, why are they coming to get us a little girl with military-grade weapons? I'm not a terrorist. The only thing I did wrong was use my social media and my voice for a cause that I believed in, for a cause that millions of Kenyans believe in. So at that, I told you I was still in my nightwear, so they wanted to take me like that, but one of them had sense and said, no, let her get into something that's a bit warmer, more appropriate. Yeah, they didn't even want to let me dress up. They were just standing there, watching me, waiting for me to undress and give them some kind of show. They're sick people. No, but one of them, the one who had sense, mm-hmm. Yeah, the sense was constant. He told them, okay, maybe we can give her a minute to get changed. And then, yeah. So I dressed up. I just put a t-shirt and one of my official pants on and this exact jacket and a sweater, and I took one for him as well. I didn't know they were gonna take him. Initially, I thought, okay, they're just gonna come for me and he's gonna get me out. but they took him too. So I took a jacket for him, and they tied us up, they blindfolded us, and we left. So it took us down the
You
stairs.
blindfolded from
the house.
From the house.
There were instances where they used to take off the blindfold, like if we went to the washroom, which we went to a lot. But yeah, so they took us into the car. I don't even know if we locked the house. I have no idea what happened after that. At that point in my head, I was just like, oh God, shit. Sorry for the colorful language, but that's what was going on in my head. So they put us in a car. I didn't know we were in the same car because later on I was told there were 3. So in my head, I was also thinking, okay, where did they take him? What are they going to do to him? Not my partner. Where did they take him? And then later on I came to realize, oh, he's right here. So calm down a bit. So they put us in the car and we drove for nearly 20 minutes, got to our destination. The entire time, these guys are hitting my head, like, usijaribu kutoa hiyo blindfold, ukitoa utanikasirisha and you don't want to make me mad. So they're hitting my head and confirming, is this thing on? It was so tight, my head hurt so bad, my ears, it was crazy. So we got there, we sat in the car for about 10 minutes, and the entire time they're like, other guys came and they were like, oh, undo Nadia, oh, you ndo ring leader, nkasichana kadogo, haka ndo kana ring lead watu kwenda maandamano. So I'm like, at that time I'm scared, I'm like, mi aki sija ring lead mtu, that's all I kept saying. And then they took us inside. It felt like a house. So they took us inside the house and put us in a room. Later I realized there were 2 beds. So my partner was in the other one and I was on the one on the right. Still blindfolded this entire time and tied up. So they left us there for a few minutes. And then I think we were handed over. The people who took us are not the same people who were interrogating us. So we were handed over from one team to another.
I'd like to call other guys who are also in the room, Ernest Nyerere and Bill Simani, to also recount on their experience as well, so that we can get the conversation going and it becomes more an engagement. Thank you so much. Let's give him a round of applause, please. Thank you so much. It's Billy, correct?
Yeah, Billy.
For coming on stage. Ernest will be joining us shortly. Just briefly recount for us how the experience was for you.
Hi, my name is Billy Simani, otherwise known as Crazy Nairobian. Okay, for me, I was, I think, the first guy to be abducted. So for me, it was more of a surprise. We had just come from a successful Thursday maandamano. So on Friday, I was still asleep throughout the day. I just woke up constantly to tweet and go back to sleep. So at 3 p.m., I think it was on 21st June, I had a knock on the door. At first, I thought it was the caretaker, because that's the only person that can knock at my door. So I went to open the door. Hao wengine upiga simu before akuze. So I was still in my t-shirt and my short. I went to the door, opened it, and I saw it was 4 guys in balaclava. The 5th one was a lady because she had on a face mask. And the first question they asked me was, Billy? And out of shock, I answered, yes. Na hiyo time yote wameshikilia mlango. So they all rushed in. The first guy ran to the balcony. I think they thought that maybe I would escape. Then the second one went to the bedroom. And then the third one, it was this huge guy. He told me to face the wall. Alafu, they told me to sit down. And the next thing I know, I was being slapped with brand new wrist bracelets, yani pingu nyuma. Alafu, the other guy went from my laptop and my phone. And then they started interrogating me. First, they asked me to open my phone. They wanted me to unlock my phone, but I refused. And then the whole time I was asking, nimefanya nini? Nataka nijue nimefanya nini? And they silenced me with a few round of claps, all of them.
Oh, wow.
And so nika realize this is not usual, because first of all, I was just tweeting normally. I hadn't done anything wrong. And then the other guy went for my t-shirt, the Maandamano t-shirt, it was on my chair. I thought maybe they were taking evidence, but they wanted to use the t-shirt to cover me up. So the whole time I was pleading with them to at least let me put on some pair of trousers, but they refused. And then they asked me the last time, tufungulie simu tafadhali. And I told them, mimi mniambie kwanza mnanishikia nini ndio nijue. They silenced me once again with a few round of clap, all of them. And you know I live on the 7th floor. And that's the first time ever since I moved into that building that nimeiteremka stairs na I think it was a few seconds, because they were too quick. I couldn't see because walikuwa wameni cover up. The next thing I know, I'm being sandwiched in the back of a car. Mm-hmm. I think there was one guy on my right, the other one on my left. And then we drove around for like 2 hours. So me, in my mind, I knew that I'm being taken out of Nairobi somewhere. And I knew this was it, because first of all, they didn't introduce themselves. Second of all, I've been blindfolded. So the next thing I knew, story yangu imeisha hivyo. So we drove around for like 2 hours. Then they started whispering. And then one of them was asking for directions from someone on the phone. And then they sent him the pin. And then the next thing I know, I'm pulling up to, I don't know, one of them, they stopped the car, they came out, and then one of them was like, ni hapa? Then the others were like, yeah, ni hapa. Wakasema, sawa, toa hiyo jamaa tumalizane na yeye hapa kwa kahawa tuende kufanya kazi ingine. And I knew that was it. Mm-hmm. And then the next thing I know, I'm being taken out of the car. I was still in my t-shirt, my short, barefoot, hands tied behind my back. I've been blindfolded. The next thing I know, I'm being taken down the stairs into a room. It was a very cold room. Then they told me to lie on my stomach. They asked me they asked my name. I told them Billy Simani. The next thing, they wanted my ID number. The next thing, they asked me where I come from. I think walikuwa nataka kujua ushago ni wapi. I told them. Then they asked me nimeshikiwa wapi. So I was like, I thought these were the guys that brought me here. So I think those were the other guys that I was handed to who were asking questions. They let me lie on that floor for like an hour. Then after an hour, somebody came. They took me upstairs into, I think it was an interrogation room. Those guys at the interrogation room were a bit friendly. The guys at where I was being held up were a bit rough. So the next thing I know, I'm being sat on a chair, and then one of the guys started asking me questions. They asked me the usual question: what is your name, your ID number, where do you live, your social media handles. They wanted Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. And then the next thing they told me was, we are going to ask you questions and you're going to answer us. If you don't, first of all, this is not a police station, so they might not find you, so you have to cooperate. And I was like, this was it. So they wanted to know who was funding these protests. And I told them, no one, it's just the youth. There are people who are coming up and buying water. Some people are coming up and buying t-shirts. Watu wanajitolea tu. Then they told me, the reason why we have brought you here is because tungeongea nawe kwako, ulikuwa kichwa ngumu. First of all, we need you to unlock that phone. And I was like, mimi nataka nijue nimeshikiwa nini. And they told me once more, I'm the one asking the questions. you're going to open this phone because we want to see something. And then I just decided to open the phone for them. I told them the code. They checked. I think they were looking to see if somebody was funding us, and they didn't find anything. So they took me down to where I was being held. I think it was a downstairs. It was a very cold room. I slept there the whole night. My hands on my back, still in my short and t-shirt, the whole night. So they came for me the next day. That's when they brought in tea. And then they transferred my hands to the front. And then after tea, I was taken back to the interrogation room. And then the guy was friendly enough to ask for a blanket. And then they told me, we wanted you to fast to meditate and think about your questions first. So I think now you are ready to cooperate with us and tell us what we want to know.
Perhaps, Billy, during the entire time, paint us that experience that you had that entire time, because you're talking of you being slapped at the back, you being tied up, your hands, having to sleep in a cold room the entire night. Just paint us in a minute how that experience was for you.
The whole time I was trying to think, what tweet gave me out? Like, what did I say? Because the only thing I know, I was protesting like the rest of my colleagues. So I was wondering why I was brought here. And the whole entire time, I didn't know why I was brought there. Like, I knew this was the end for me. So it was like a psychological warfare, because first of all, they removed the cuffs, the handcuffs, and then they replaced them with, they're called ziplock, zip ties. And the more I was struggling, the more they were tightening. So my hands were numb. I couldn't sleep the entire time. I was trying to like listen and know where I was, but there was no sound, no nothing. I didn't know if there was anybody in the room. So I wasn't even sure if I was in a police station or what. But I later realized the following day when they transferred the hands to the front, when I had the chance and lifted my blinds, I was in a toilet. I was actually in a toilet. It's a very small toilet. And that's where I was held the whole night. And then they would occasionally come. And when they came, they announced that they are coming, so I had to face the wall. Then they tightened the blindfolds again. They take me to the interrogation room. I think by that time, people had made enough noise on social media. I was all over, I was in the news, and they were tense at that fast, and they were telling me, your friends think that we have killed you. They are making noise all over. So we are not here to kill you. We are just trying to keep the country at peace. And they told me on Thursday, the day before they arrested me, the protest was so huge, and then goons came in at around, I think 6, 7, and they started burning a few matatus. They started destroying properties. So in their mind, they thought that maybe we were sponsored by either a politician or someone. So they wanted to know who was this that was sponsoring the protests. And that's when I explained to them that ours is a peaceful protest. That's why we have even printed T-shirts, and we have given out a memo that anybody who is going to appear in the protests, they wakuje kama wamevaa black, so that we identify each other. And then they wanted to know how we were going to ensure that the protest was peaceful. And that's why I told them to go and look at my tweets. We had previously said that everybody should use their smartphone. If you see anybody vandalizing anything, take a picture, post it, so that when they try to pin the distraction on us, we at least have evidence. So they went through my tweets and they saw everything that we are telling people. We had even posted how people were supposed to conduct themselves during the peaceful protest. And I think that was what helped me to be alive right now.
Thank you so much, Billy. Ernest, karibu sana to the podium. Just give us a brief introduction of who you are and your participation in the protest and how it impacted you.
All right. I'm Ernest Nyerere. I'm a patriot. A lover of our country, and I work with the President of the Law Society of Kenya. My involvement in the protest was largely piecemeal because I take the work that we do with the President very seriously, and it means that you have to understand the delicate balance of sharing your views and how it can affect the responsibility, the greater responsibility that lays on the shoulder of the person that you work with. So, as a principal, I try to manage how vocally I share my views. Of course, I have very strong views, and I have my own opinions of how things should work, but I understand that extrapolations are a norm in our society. So to avoid such extrapolations, I keep my role as professional as possible, and my involvement in the protest was in supporting the work that the Council of the Law Society of Kenya was doing, and of course, under the leadership of the President. So I wouldn't say I was the number one agitator, but I supported it in a more strategic capacity in the role that I hold.
Thank you so much, Ernest. I'd like to come back to Nadia. What is your perception about civic engagement now that you have experienced police brutality, and according to you, you're protesting, it's your right. What is your perception about civic engagement after the entire police brutality?
Thank you. I believe so far we're doing well with regards educating ourselves and educating members of the society on how we can keep the people who are in these positions of power accountable and keeping the systems in check and whatnot. So civic education right now, I think, is moving in the direction that it was supposed to be moving in previously. It's better than it was before, I think also because of the incidents that we have had of people getting murdered, people getting maimed, injured, abducted like ourselves. So our society is moving in the right direction, I believe. We are moving in the right direction.
Thank you so much, Nadia. At this point, I would like to take a comment, not really a comment, but welcome at _Oduk, who's joining the conversation from X. If we could have him, please. Okay, so we're getting him through. So at this point in time, we're just opening the floor for Q&A. So if you have any questions, kindly jot it down and the person to whom you want the question directed to. So I'd like to ask Billy, perhaps, how do you think the victims of police brutality can get support, having gone through yourself police brutality?
I think most of us need like a psychological evaluation, because the moment I was released, the first thing was to switch off my phone, because I'm still paranoid at how they located me, how they even knew my house, my door. Like up to now, my phone is still off. I'm using a different line. And I haven't been staying at one place. I've been staying at different people's places, because I'm still afraid, because I think that they might come back for me. So if you know anybody that has been through what we have been through, the best you can do is be there for them, support them, talk to them, because I don't think any of them want to be alone at this time.
To you, Ernest, roping you back to the conversation from a law perspective, how do you think the demonstrations should be handled from the law perspective with those that are enforcing the law, that is the police, of course?
Well, of course, we have to understand that a democratic society is the number one sort of dream that our constitution envisions. And that is why we have very elaborate structures, institutions, and provisions on ensuring that the people can engage in a democratic manner and ascertain a democratic and fair and equal society. Now, we've all had the conversations that have been there about Article 37 and all the relevant constitutional provisions under the Bill of Rights with respect to participation of the people, how the people are supposed to engage. And the reality is the people of Kenya have come to an awakening that, hey, these are our rights. We gave them to ourselves. And it is upon ourselves to enjoy them. And this realization is simply because the people that have been entrusted with ascertaining the protections of these rights have failed. You look at the duty of the police under Article 244, they have to uphold constitutional standards of human rights. But is that what they do? You know, when baddies are walking with water bottles and their iPhones and simply trying to talk about what their rights are, and you tear gas them, it's very unfortunate, you know. Advocates trying to uphold the right to fair trial, going to police stations to represent people who, mind you, have been unlawfully arrested. Then you tear gas these lawyers, not caring for their health, not caring for their duty to the people. Then what kind of setup are you trying to put in place? We find ourselves in a situation where we stand at the risk of those in positions of power choosing when to suspend the Constitution and choosing when to adhere to it when it suits them. And therefore, it is a moment of awakening where we as the people of Kenya need to come together. We need to stand up to all the ills that have characterized our country historically and since the promulgation of the new constitution, and we need to appreciate that we have a wonderful constitution and it is upon us to make it work for ourselves, because our political leaders have not just failed, they have refused to implement it.
Thank you so much, Ernest. Nadia, just walk us through how this entire ordeal and experience has really changed in terms of how now you view life and everything else.
My life has changed so drastically in the span of 1 month, I cannot even tell you. As Billy said, we need a lot of psychosocial support. The anxiety, constantly having to look over your shoulder, constantly being scared that people are out to get you. I also haven't stayed in my house for more than 2 days at a go since this thing started. Just jumping from relative to relative, friend to friend. I stayed with my partner also for some time. So it's crazy. As I was telling my story right now, I could feel like a panic attack was coming on, because as I recount those events in my head, I feel like I'm back there. I feel like I'm going through that again. So,
Billy, on your end, how is it for you?
It's not simple, because you walk around, everybody knows you. From the news that you are missing, everybody wants to hear your side of the story. But at the same time, you are scared because, first of all, I didn't see those guys. I didn't see any of their faces. So in a way, I can't trust anyone. I'm a bit skeptic. And now my life isn't normal because my phone has to be constantly on flight mode, because I'm getting a lot of calls, relatives, they want to know how I am. So I always reach out to my mom so that she can at least tell them that I'm okay. But at the moment, I'm moving around constantly from house to house because I don't want to be found in my house again alone.
Thank you so much. Ernest, from your end, from the Law Society of Kenya, perhaps are you looking at ways in which you can be able to get justice for people like Nadia and Billy?
Well, I'd have to say that I wouldn't want to claim to speak for the Law Society of Kenya, but I would have to admit that it is important that those who are capable and are in positions to intervene do intervene. And of course, I appreciate my relationship with the Law Society, and being a victim myself, I think it is in order that the Law Society takes an active position in representing these people and, finding redress. Because as they've shared, the experiences were not easy. Evidently, there are violations of constitutional rights, and there must be reparations. That is what we must agree as a people, we must agree as a society. There must be reparations, there must be consequences. So I would have to say that all the things that we have experienced should not go in vain. For instance, the day I was taken is the day I knew hot water tastes good. I ordinarily do not take hot water, but it was the only thing on offer, yeah? That was the day I was reminded of how it feels kupigwa kofi ya kisogo. I have not been hit on the backside of my head since I was 9 years old, and that's quite some time back. But those reminders came in, and it was a harrowing experience, but we have capacity. We have numbers, we have capability, we have courts that are not just prepared, but are required to make sure that justice is served. And I do believe that all the partners who have taken part in putting this together, the Citizen Assembly, will work as well to ensure that the necessary reparations are found for all the victims and all the families of those who lost their lives.
Thank you so much, Ernest. I don't know if the people here have any questions to our panelists. If we could have perhaps the mic going round. If you have any question, just raise up your hand so that we can have an interactive engagement for our panelists here. Yeah, floor manager, there is a question there from the gentleman, and then we can have the lady to my left, the gentleman to my right, the first. Thank you so much. You please state your name and your question, and to whom is it directed to?
Comrades Power. I don't have a question, I just would like to do something. Can I ask the three of you to stand up and turn around and face that side? I am used to giving instructions. I was in a school in a minute. Please stand up. Come as close to the edge without falling. Okay. Just look there, don't look back. Just be present. The rest of you stand up. I want you to imagine you are back there and all these people have your back. That in that moment you could not see them, but they were all calling for your release. That none of them forgot you for that moment. And in that sense, be present to the fact that when we take a stand as human rights activists, we are never alone. There are 56 million people who are slowly beginning to find capacity to protect you. I'm not sure if this is a question, but we have your back.
Thank you so much. We have another question from the second row to my left on this other side. The lady in green, I presume. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. My name is Diana Gishengo, and just like Irongo, I have no question. And mine is to say thank you. Thank you very much for your sacrifice, for what you have done for this country. We really thank you. Nadia, erase from your mind, you did nothing wrong. You did nothing wrong in all the posts you did and what you did on the street. We celebrate you, we honor you. I think in addition to having their back, can we all pledge that the torture they went through, in addition to the people who have lost their lives, the firing of cabinet is not enough, is it? Yes. For patriots to have sat in a toilet because they demanded good governance, Parliament must go. For all the wrong investments in military guns to silence us, we need a new budget. Not the one that he's referring to. We need a new budget. And finally, if the president could not apologize for this, he said they were fake. Look at these people. They are here, we can see them. Does he deserve to be our president? No. Ruto must? No. Thank you.
Thank you for those opinions. Any other round of questions? Okay.
People power. People power. People power. Thank you very much. My name is Brian Okeja. Actually, we really don't even need to ask questions. We need to speak our hearts here. What we are dealing with in this country is a kleptomaniac bunch of bones and muscles. That is what we are dealing with in this country. We are dealing with a government that has a massive disdain for rule of law. I can tell you there are just a few of us, but so many people suffered. Myself, I was hit by a canister. I lost balance. I almost broke my knee. I was clobbered on the back by a rungu. I was washed with that pink water. Iliniwasha hadi makende. What they have done, that they have arrested our people, they have tortured us, they have killed us. But what they don't know is this, that when we made the decision to come out of our houses, we knew that the fight for democracy is very expensive. And we are ready to pay the ultimate price. We knew that we would either come back home safe or not come back at all. But that will not deter us from anything. We will continue. They can kill us, but they cannot kill this movement. They can torture us, but they cannot kill this liberation. They can kill us. The worst thing that they can ever do to us is to kill this bunch of bones and muscles. This is a body, but they can never touch our soul. We will die and we will reincarnate. We will come back and be born in this same country. We are not going to accept any nonsense. And what we are saying is this, that as the youth of this nation, as the Gen Zs, our allegiance, our obeisance, our loyalty and fidelity is to the flag of this nation, is the flag of Kenya, and to no one else and to nothing else. People power. Say with me, I am a revolutionary. I am a revolutionary. I am a revolutionary. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your comments. Before we continue, I'd like to invite Rocha Madza, who is the student president, to just give his comments. The mic is there, please, if you could. The mic is there, please. Thank you.
Comrades power, comrades power, comrades Tibim, comrades Ria, comrades Ria. I'd first like to take this chance to thank the organizers for this event, and I'm very honored. And if I may recount on what we underwent when we were going for the demonstrations, we were rallying ourselves through the main campus, where we were able to organize ourselves and get some masks and water. And what we were mainly agitating for as students, apart from the finance bill, is mainly the new funding model, which has been really affecting us. And even as the president has dissolved his cabinet, we are still saying there is more to be done. Am I wrong, comrades? Ni kweli? Because as we are sitting right now, we can't afford school fees as students. And what we're calling for the president to do is he dissolves and he abolishes the new funding model, which is really affecting the needy. Because if education is an equalizer, then why then should we segregate, and why then should we group students based on how financially they are? Because as we are speaking, the first years in medicine school who are paying 612,000 shillings, half of them have deferred from their class because they're expected to pay 30% of that, which is about 200,000 shillings. So where I come from Kwale, that is in Zombo. My parents, maybe they sell mangoes to earn a living. So they really can't afford these school fees, and we are killing their dreams. So as we are here, let us also agitate for that in the X and other avenues, that we still need change, and this is the right time. And I'd urge all of us, let's not kill the movement, because the country is still in shambles, and we can't say we have won yet. Much has to be done, and mine is to urge all the comrades that we'll do this until we get to where we are, because this is our nation, and we must fight for our justice. And for all those who are affected, we have been praying for you, and I'm sure everything will be well. And for all those few remarks, let me thank you for organizing the event. Have a lovely day. Na safari ni ya Ikulu, na we reject the new funding model. Comrades power. Comrades power. We want free education because it's a basic need for all of us. Amani wongo. Yes, so thank you, nambarikiwa sana.
Thank you so much, Rocha, for those comments. Please reserve your comments and your questions. Of course, the engagement and discussions are still ongoing. At this point, I'd like to begin with Nadia. What are your closing remarks? And perhaps the leaders that are watching you today, what is your message to them?
We owe it to ourselves and to our fallen comrades to see this thing through to the end. This movement is not about one person, it is not about two people, it is about all of us collectively. We need systems that work. We need a country that works for all of us, not just a select few. So, yeah, they can maim us, they can injure us, they can murder us, but they cannot stop this movement.
Billy, on your end, your closing remarks to those that are watching, what are you telling them, especially the policy makers, those that are in charge?
Okay, first of all, I would like to thank everyone for all the noises that you made while you were abducted. So, and all I can say is that together we are powerful. The noises that we are making behind our keyboards, behind our phones, they are very powerful, and we are seeing the effects, like they are working. So all I can tell all the comrades, don't give up. This thing is working. That's all I can say.
Yeah. Ernest, from your end, your closing remarks, and the calls continues, and perhaps what is the way forward from your end?
I think there is a defiance that comes with knowing that you are doing what is right and knowing that you are fighting and standing for something. Standing at that door after it opened, seeing 8 men armed with military-grade weapons, the fear went out of me because I knew I had done nothing wrong and I knew there was nothing I could do. I was helpless, but I was sure that if that was the end, it was for doing nothing wrong. We, the people of Kenya, will continue to do what is right. We will continue to fight for what we deserve, and we will continue to use our brains because our ingenuity is what sets us apart from those who have fought before us. We will not just come at you in the streets. We will use our brains. We will fight you in courts. We will use technology. We will stop you from making this country move in the right direction by whatever means available to us. We are the smartest, we are the strongest, we are the best this country has to offer. Na tutashuka na watu.
Thank you so much, Ernest, for those remarks. Please, let's give them a round of applause. It's not easy, and we wish you well, even as you get the psychological help that you need to get yourself through the next phases of your life. At this point, I'd like to call Giuliani as we take a very short breather, and then we will continue the conversation. So keep your questions there. We will get to them. So at this point, we are going to just take a breather and then invite Juliani on the stage. Thank you so much.
May our children rest in peace. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust.
Waiting for Mandela. My people.
Sema hatuko na they took you away. La 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 salama. Hatuko nawe. They took you away. Tapatana machozi ya jana. inauma hii side ya left ya chest, naomba boxes zingine za handkerchief, machozi ligeuza matope penye ume rest. Hii si WhatsApp group, unaweza rudi ukileft, waliwakata mabawa usifly again. Clouds ni grey, nguo ni white, nguo ni black, macho ni red, colors are pain. It takes a long day kujua life ni short. Life haina remote, unaweza fast forward ama rewind to a happier episode. Machozi ya jana haigandi, tunapanguza na furaha ya justice. Hatuko nawe, they took you away. Lala, lala salama. Hatuko nawe, they took you away. Tapatana machozi ya jana. Nilijaribu kujiconvince huku juu, mapenzi ya Mungu ukweli ni rosa statue ndani ya watu. Sababu seriousness ya poisonous snake, tusipuuze ka cuteness ya pet. Kwa mkono mngekimbilia ndio muliangamia, amkunuia mlo waliwandalia. Sauti ya glass ya champagne ikigonga cheers, impunity ikicelebrate, itatizwe na sauti ya nyundo kwa court wakiface judgment. Iwe funzo kwa wenye tabia kama hiyo, mwizi wa uhai hukumu isiwe kuchunwa sikio. Hatuko nawe, they took you away. Lala, lala salama. Hatuko nawe, they took you away. Tapatana machozi ya jana. Ewe Mungu wajua njia zangu yatengeze, yale siwezi yasongeze. Wewe ndiye nguvu ya wanyonge. Ewe Mungu wajua njia zangu yatengeze, yale siwezi yasongeze. Wewe ndiye nguvu ya wanyonge. Hatuko nawe, they took you away. Lala, lala salama. Hatuko nawe, they took you away. Tapatana machozi ya jana. Mungu abariki, asante man. Mnisede kuimba isawa? Shagala bagala. Niko tayari kulipa gharama, sitasimama maovu ya kitawala. Sitasimama maovu ya kitawala. Ufisadi, ubinafsi, ukabila, kuuza sura wataki kuuza sera. Undugu ni kufaana, sitasimama maovu ya kitawala. Sitasimama maovu ya kitawala. To get wadhifa, una deserve bila kashama kashfa. Hii society Kenya wanaeza share ni nyungu ya busa ama keto la shisha. Mfuko unasikia echo, unajua thamani ya mali na size ya kifuli. Eyo, ujaibiwa jua unakaa kitu what? Risking jail time, police bullets for. Unaweza argue crime doesn't pay, lakini wezi dismiss justice in a bay. Mwizi ana 40 days, 365 days later anaendelea kugrow fatter. Do anything for power, ready to lose their head for presidency. Bora waione kwa currency. Sababu gani siko affected na turbulence? Flanga nimezo the same feeling. Matatu zikipitia portal mtaani. Julian, yeah, nisaidie. Gala bagala, niko tayari kulipa gharama.
Sitasimama maovu yakitawala, sitasimama maovu yakitawala.
Ufisadi
Hawataki kuuza sera,
undugu ni kufana.
sitasimama
DJ wapi kidero when you need to slap somebody? Complain ufisadi, kwani ulidhani 50 bob leso t-shirt siku ya campaign ilikuwa free? Ni 5-year loan investment, utalipa kingia parliament. We are one, ama ni we are wana, utumishi kwa wote. Utu missing CCTV we were watching. Racial insecurity na job opportunity ni kama mti ya kibiriti, side moja heavy. Usiniambie Kenya kuna umaskini, kwani hizi fat fingers zinaibia nane? Maskando zina threaten our survival. Media define leadership, na surukia ka front page na improve leadership. Ambia sa wa Twitter wa hashtag hii ama hash reality doesn't make a good TT. Commission of inquiry walikula commission bila kutupa ukweli. Ni kubaya mpaka kukiwa kuzuri unashindwa nini mbaya. Machozi ya perpetrator inaweza dilute damu ya victim ilimwagika. Machozi ya perpetrator inaweza dilute damu ya victim ilimwagika. After all is said and done, all will be said and nothing will be done. Niko njaa hata si owe hae shagala bagala, niko tayari kulipa gharama, sitasimama maovu ala, sitasimama maovu. Ufisadi, ubinafsi, ukabila, kuuza hataki kuuza sera. Undugu ni kufana, sitasimama maovu yakitawala, sitasimama maovu yakitawala. Mungu awabariki, yao sio? Nataka tu since niko na mic, acha tu nikimbele mbele hapa, si ndio? Nataka tu mseme kama sisi, sawa? Si ndio? Kutabadilishana nani kama? 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 Mungu awabariki, au sio? Alafu, it's my pleasure to introduce the one and only, the President LSK, the amazing Faith Odhiambo wewe. Hey, swag nini? Igwe.
Thank you.
Biti wangu leo pelala nchi na nyekundu ni ya damu, kijani ni ya ardhi, nyeupe ya amani. Daima mimi Mkenya, mwananchi mzalendo.
Go for my left side screen.
Before I speak, first of all, it gives me great courage and enthusiasm to see all who have made their way here today. God bless Kenya. Allow me to first invite some of our partners who are here to stand here and just introduce themselves, who have made this possible. Please, our various partners, make your way here. Then, before I speak, I'll invite the Law Society of Kenya, Nairobi chairperson, Eric Kivuva, to also say a word.
Comrades Power! On behalf of the movement, Amnesty International, we salute your courage, we salute your constitutionalism and your fidelity to the rule of law. What we saw was a breakdown in the rule of law. We saw the abuse of state power, and it is this movement that has corrected this moment for the nation and for the world. Thank you. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Irungo Houghton, Executive Director, Amnesty International.
Viva, comrades, viva. More power to the people, more power. Down with police killings, down. Down with police brutality, down. Down with corruption, down. Down with Ruto, down. My name is Happy Olal, the convener, Social Justice Centers Working Group. Tuko hapa, Ruto must go. Thank you.
Some of you will be falling over if you don't sit down. Please take your seats. So I've been asked to also just to acknowledge some of the other people that have helped to put this together. This is a collective effort. There are many organizations that are on the poster, and there are many others that didn't get onto the poster but were in support. Let me acknowledge the International Commission of Jurists, Kenya Section, the Independent Medical Legal Unit, the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, a state agency committed to human rights. And to be honest, that is all they have been doing in the last 4 weeks. To the Defenders Coalition, who have protected and supported many of you here and many others. And also lastly, to Happy Olal, but also to the movement of social justice centers that were organizing all over the country to protect the protester. Thank you.
Comrades, power! Comrades, power! Power to the people! My name is Eric Kakemu Kivuva. I serve you as the LSK Chair, Nairobi branch. And I am truly delighted today to be part of this gathering that I can only describe as a gathering of patriots. Because for me, we have been brought together by the unfortunate events happening in our country, but maybe not so fortunate, because for the first time since independence, we will for once describe the country we want for us. We will for once describe the kind of leadership we want for this country. We will for once reset and even describe who a patriot is, because what has been happening is elections in this country has sanitized the worst of criminals, and we call them waheshimiwa. I am so delighted today. 13 years ago, this gentleman, Mr. Julius Owino, aka Giuliani, sang a song called Bahasha ya Ocampo. I don't know kama we remember that song. niliponea bahasha yao kampo. Oh, lakini kile naogopa hata zaidi, finger of God ikini point, yule. And I think 13 years later, his prophecy is coming to pass. Walioponea bahasha ya Ocampo, the finger of God has caught up with them. It is now pointing them out and calling them out. But more importantly, we the people should not be an empty rhetoric. It should be that which we live as Kenyans. And in the first verse of that song, Juliani makes the statement, ndio ujue vitu ziko wrong, pedestrians wanapisha gari kwa zebra crossing kupita. That is the country we've had for the last 13 years, for the last 60 years. But we, the people, must describe the kind of country we want and tell ourselves we will live in a country where the rule of law is supreme and we are all faithful to the rule of law. And fellow patriots, it starts with all of us being considerate to obey the list of things, including giving regard to a zebra crossing, including giving regard to traffic lights. If that is the country we want, we must be part of that change. Ladies and gentlemen, I am truly delighted and even more privileged because I know Madam President will be giving her keynote address, especially on the subject of we, the people. Thank you very much. God bless Kenya. God bless the movement. May we, patriots, keep at it and never relent in seeking for a better country. Thank you. Just before Madam President speaks, I have been informed that those who wish to register their complaints, the desk is just outside there on the left. Madam President, Faith Odhiambo, karibu sana.
Comrades, power. I'm not feeling that power. Comrades, power. Viva. Viva Kenya, viva. Protect our constitution, viva. My fellow Kenyans, comrades and colleagues, for decades our country has faced endless spate of unresolved extrajudicial killings associated with political spectrum. I remember Law Society was involved in collecting evidence for the last Mandamano killings. To date, we are still demanding from IPOA, why haven't you tabled that report? Why haven't you held those policemen accountable? Why is the Inspector General of Police still sitting on that chair? We all know about the controversial death of Pio Gama Pinto in February 24th, 1965. Very few will remember January 29th, 1969, where Agwins Kodek, a pioneering Mau Mau lawyer, died in a car crash under mysterious circumstances. The families of Pinto and Agwins have never known justice, and the same fate befell Thomas Joseph Adhiambo Mboya on July 5th, 1969. Have we forgotten J.M. Kariuki on March 2nd, 1975? Where is the truth about Bruce Roy Mackenzie's death on May 24th, 1979? We are here today to stand for justice for victims. We do not want to leave any man behind. The stories of those who came before us, the different regimes, the different decades, are testament that when political stars and fights come to an end, there are bodies that are littered in the streets. There are bodies that are left for our kin to deal with. Yet no one knows justice. No one sees justice for those victims. I would go on until the cows come home. And you will all see that each regime in this country has had its fair share of assassinations in an attempt to eliminate persons perceived to be standing for something that the political class do not want. Killing of innocent Kenyans on the streets started with Mzee Jomo Kenyatta on the dark Saturday of October 25th in 1969, when Jomo's visit to Kisumu turned bloody. We all know how many Kenyans died during the struggle for multi-party democracy under Moi's 24-year rule. Abductions, torture, and painful deaths did not start with this regime. The police have merely inherited the vice from generation to generation. And we are saying, does it stop in this generation? Yes. Does it stop in this generation? Yes. It must end in this generation. No more abductions, no more extrajudicial killings. President Mwai Kibaki presided over the worst tide of killings. We cannot forget about the 2007-2008 post-election violence. And we do not ever want to go back there. Uhuru Kenyatta too was no different, because every year the local newspapers reported how many people disappeared mysteriously in the hands of law enforcement agencies. And just when we thought there was a new dawn in this country, new hope, a country where the head of state was brought in the mantra for the young people, a youthful leader, we have seen police disappointing this hope. And we are demanding from the head of state that his promise that there will be no extrajudicial killings in his tenure, in his reign, that he may hold truth to that. At least if for nothing else, let people not die for standing for their beliefs. Let people not be abducted for standing for what they believe is right. And we are still demanding from him to ensure that all those who have been involved are arrested and prosecuted before our courts of law. The civil societies are struggling to put together the data of injured people, both from gunshots, crude weapons, and attempts to follow up on missing persons. We know that there are families that are still reeling in pain and anguish, and yet we want to move forward. We want to move forward, but we want to move forward with justice for everyone. These families should not be struggling with paying medical bills, struggling with fundraising to bury their kin. Yet we have a state, we have a nation that the head of state has committed that they will be held accountable for each and every death, for each and every person who have been injured. I've visited people at Kenyatta National Hospital. Young men and women like you who now will never walk again, they have lost their hands. Where do they start? We cannot move on and forget them. For a nation to grow, we must move on together. And that is what we, the Law Society of Kenya, and coalition of all our partners here today are standing for. We want justice for each and every one of our members in this great country. Fellow Kenyans, today we want us to begin a journey of truth and justice. Today we walk back the hands of time towards tracing the whereabouts of our missing brothers and sisters. Walk with me as we seek justice for our fallen heroes of the leaderless revolution. We are going to ensure that we give our family the hope to wake up every morning knowing that their son or daughter, whose remains are buried in graves spread throughout this country, are not in vain. To that mother, to that aunt, to that sister, to that father, to that brother looking for their loved ones, please come to us. We have created a network of social and civil rights defenders working together to unravel these mysteries. Let this be the last time that Kenyans will take to the streets in peace, only for trigger-happy policemen to flood the same streets with their blood and walk scot-free. The plan is to set camp at almost every county that experienced police brutality during our protests. I want to raise my greatest appreciation for my different branch chairs all around the country that mobilized their members upon my request and call to go out to the different police stations all around the country. That is why we've been able to make a mark. each and every one of my branch chairs, my council members, and every lawyer who heeded my request and call are the heroes that I can sing proudly from the Law Society side, coming to defend the rights of Kenyans and fighting against any trumped-up charges, those who have been kept beyond the required period in prisons, and trying to ensure the safety and freedom of all Kenyans who had been arrested. There are so many people out there living in pain inflicted by the police. It could be mental health or just desolation. Please come out. Let our experienced team of experts offer psychosocial support to help you heal. Today we begin here at the historic Ufungamano House. We are coming to you all around the country. The Law Society of Kenya, together with all our partners here, have membership across the country, and with the support of our various branches and offices, have remained zealous and steadfast at protecting the Constitution. If we work together in this, then our defenseless families will not shed tears in vain. As a mother and a lawyer, I stand here today with a heavy heart of what we have seen the last few weeks, the numerous calls that I've received, those in distress, even at very wee hours of the morning. It shows to you the waning strength of so many members of the public. Though in fear, some struggling, some in despair, but yet our young generation are still coming out strongly and firmly, affirming that we are standing for accountability, transparency, we are fighting corruption. We want to see a positive change in our government. Those who have been coming out are loyal patriots of this country. They are standing to see a change. They are the same James Orengos and amongst others who came to fight for multi-party democracy. This is a fight against corruption, a fight for accountability, a fight for transparency, which we must embrace as a nation to move forward together. Even in commemorating those of us who are no longer among us, it would be remiss of me not to appreciate each and every one of your zealous, ingenious, persistent, and unified sacrifice for our country. You are ridiculed, underestimated, threatened, and vilified, all in an attempt to break your resolve to reclaim your country. Through it all, you remained peaceful and focused on the noble objective of standing for what is right and what you deserve. Your courage is unparalleled, your patriotism unchallenged, and your unity against all political barriers unprecedented. You are exactly what you think you are. You are the heroes of today. The irrefutable gains of what you people stand for shines a bright ray of hope upon the future of our country. If you do not believe it yet, allow me to confirm to you that you people have achieved what many dreamed of and wished for, but few realized. A weak and unreliable parliament betrayed you, the people who they swore to represent you. Mlianguka now. A punitive tax regime was forced down the throats of Kenyans despite public outcry against the repressive finance bill. Mlianguka nayo. The political elite unified to run Kenya down the rabbit hole of treachery and deceit to deviate you from your resolve to bring change to Kenya. Namely, an ineffective, incompetent, and arrogant cabinet represented impunity and refused to work for the people from whom the power they exercised. And once again, today marks a crucial step in our progressive journey towards real sustainable change for our country. This is the onset of a series of deliberations by sovereign citizens of Kenya to reflect on who, where, and what we are as a country. The preamble to our constitution defines who we are. Article 10 prescribes what we ought to be, and the entirety of our constitution in its brilliant magnificence and visions where we ought to be as a nation. However, time without number, those to whom we have bestowed power and trust to deliver to us the dream of Katiba 2010 have failed us. Tumewapatia lakini wamekataa kuperform. Kenya finds itself in a constitutional moment, one where the people have reclaimed their sovereignty and are ready to rid of any individual, institution, or entity that jeopardizes the well-being of the country and defies constitutional principles. What started as demonstrations against the Finance Bill 2024 has spun into a domino effect that gives us an opportunity for change that is ours to lose. Shida zetu zikianguka bado, lazima zimeingia one leg. It is thanks to this realization that the Law Society of Kenya, all our partners and stakeholders have taken the obvious step to join all of you in forging the path on which we want our country set. Thank you for embracing us. Thank you for allowing us to stand with you, and thank you for allowing us to be part of you. My speech was quite long, but I wanted to also highlight that we have seen changes in the Police Service Commission. We have seen so many trainings, but now we are saying we are going to hold you accountable. We are not going to sit and start discussing a way forward for training, better institutions for police. It's time for accountability. It's time that those who have been given power and have abused it, to be held accountable. That's why we are here today, to count everyone and ensure no one is left behind. That when we are challenged that who are these people, where were they hurt, which place, we'll be able to table credible evidence as advocates and our different partners, that we'll be able to put this at the table. That should be part of the discussion. Any dialogue must start with information and telling us these number of people that we have collected, this data, what are you doing about it? And we know that IPOA will be coming today, that IPOA may also take responsibility and take that mantle. We will not allow you to continue to fail us as a people of Kenya. You must also take up your place and hold any police officers that have been identified, have been seen. You can't tell us that you cannot find them, yet our Gen Zs, our millennials, our youth, our fellow Kenyans are able to trace them and to find their details and have shared them with you, but you refuse to do your work. To independent institutions, the judiciary, constitutional commissions, independent offices, and statutory bodies, it is high time you stand up to be counted. People have been killed by police, but IPOA is yet to act. People have been outed for corrupt conduct by EACC is yet to institute relevant proceedings. The helplessness feigned by our institution is the greatest enabler for the tribulations we face. The hesitation and refusal by proper mandated authorities to take action in the face of subversion of the rule of law and constitutional principles is the reassurance upon which our aggressors act with impunity. Government frustration and refusal to cooperate are in no way, shape, form, or fashion unacceptable excuse. The people are with you, they will support you, they will help you finish the job, but only if you start doing it and doing it well. Na hata nyinyi mkikataa, Wakenya mtafanya nini? Lastly, to the political leadership and elected representatives, there is no honor higher than being chosen by the people to serve your country. That honor requires delicate, deliberate, impartial, and accountable exercise of that authority that is donated to you. Hubris and bravado are vices that have no place in the Kenya of today. The people of Kenya awake to their full authority as the true sovereign, and their realization of the beauty of their unity draws the curtains on divisive ethnic politics that has historically been endemic in this Kenyan's politics. It's time to become leaders, not rulers. It is time to represent and serve the people, not to be demigods desperate for constant praise and worship. It is time to act, not making unyielding promises. Henceforth, contempt for the people will neither go unnoticed nor remain unresolved. Gen Z wame hii ni tofauti. Gen Z wamegotha. We will not believe, you will not believe. From the Law Society of Kenya and all our partners, we make our solemn understanding that what we have done over the last few weeks have been fueled by the strength we have drawn from your courage. For as long as you stand for what you believe is just, fair, and right before the law, we will stand for you and will fight for you. Join me in this final prayer, the prayer for our forefathers, the Father, the prayer of our nation. We say the first stanza of our national anthem in English. O God of all creation, bless this our land and nation. Justice be our shield and defender. May we dwell in unity, peace, and liberty. Plenty be found within our borders. I pray that God bless you and God bless Kenya. Really? Come, you guys come. Come. Steve.
I hope all our heads will fit inside. Let me come on this side. Let me come on the other side of it. Will we all fit? Tunarudia chini ama we are here now?
Were we going back down?
Do we go back or stay?
Oh, I think you guys are finished.
We're the next panel, yeah.
Yeah. Watatuita in case they need us.
Hi, how are you? Nice to see you. Well done for this. One of the last 3 days.
Wapi bado?
All right, okay. Thank you very much to everyone. Really appreciate
Just stand by.
President, perhaps the best president this country has ever seen. A better round of applause for Madam President, please. And absolutely, really great, the comments and seeing what we have to do today. I'd like to call us back to attention because we have a lot to cover today. My name is James Smart. Allow me to welcome all of you again for the second panel. On this second panel, we have Dr. Willie Mutunga, who's joining us on X-Space, the famous X-Space. All right, let's listen to Dr. Willie Mutunga, former retired Chief Justice. All right, Dr. CJ, please give us your comments.
Gen Z and millennials, thank you very much for what you are doing. There is, I'm in Kabarak actually, and there is a joke going around here, which I think I should tell you. Apparently, the president is going around looking for a general called General Z. This reminds me of Idi Amin going to the central bank looking for one of the workers who was called Foreign Exchange, who was never around in Uganda, and they wanted to kill him. So, my comment there are two comments that I want to make, and I've made them in other spaces. One is that what happened the other day, and I think this has been discussed, so I'm just reinforcing what we have always said for a long time, that the factions that rule Kenya cannot be described in the way we describe them as that there's one, faction that is the lesser evil, and that we have to choose evil. They have come together, they've shown that they are birds of the same political feather, and they have identified themselves as the enemy of the people. And that's progress, because we have had for the last 60 years or so the politics of division and the politics of monetization, which you must avoid, at all costs. And you have started a revolution. There's no doubt about that. And we wait and, we hope that you continue your political demands to emphasize, the concerns of your material interests and needs, education, health, jobs, struggles against foreign domination, housing, everything that is important for your existence. You posters have captured those particular issues in a revolutionary manner. I've loved the cause, or the clarion cause, which you have called occupations. Even the occupation of IMF, and the World Bank, making that connection between our rulers and our external rulers is very, very, very important if we are going to carry on this revolution to its successful change. So I've also want to praise you for breathing life into the Constitution. We have a Constitution that, is fairly progressive, but we gave it to, leaders who find it inconvenient and they don't want to implement it. But you've come to the scene, and you're basically saying that you want to exercise our sovereign power directly. And I think that's what is reflected in the various calls for occupations, whether it's the occupation of parliament, occupation of State House, occupation of, I guess, the judiciary and all the institutions. So these are great clarion calls. And so I just want to finish by again glorifying what you're doing and asking you to keep your eyes on the prize, avoid divisions, because the people you are dealing with, or the class you are dealing with, you should never underestimate them. They are geniuses in politics of division, ethnicity, religion, and if that doesn't work, they also got plenty of money to stop this particular movement. So thank you very much. Aluta continua, and victory is certain. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, retired Chief Justice Dr. William Mutunga, giving us his thoughts. let's get straight into it and introduce my panel for what we need to do next. Hussein Khalid, please join me on the stage. Irungu Houghton as well, join me on the stage. And Gloria Kimani of LSK Council member, also join me on the stage. A round of applause, please, as they join me on stage. So for this panel, what we'd like to do is we want to capture reflections of what has happened in these last 4 weeks. There's been reported police excesses, there's been disappearance, abductions, illegal arrests, killings, injuries, and that sort of thing. And we haven't spent time as a country to capture exactly what has happened. What does that mean? In essence, are we saying that protesting is an illegal thing in this country? And if it's not, why did we see the reactions that we saw? Let me start with you, Hussein Khalid.
Thank you very much, Smart. And let me first of all congratulate everyone and the entire country. Comrades power! Comrades power! We're doing it, we're changing this country, and moving forward, things will never be the same. So I'll just speak briefly about my experiences on the ground as, a person who has been, visiting families, visiting the sick in hospital. I think there have been gross human rights violations in the last couple of weeks. Many families have suffered, continue to suffer. We have an entire ward at the Kenyatta National Hospital of victims of police excesses, and that's just one hospital. We have many other hospitals in different parts, not just of Nairobi, but of the entire country, that have people who are sick. Up to now, we're still trying to understand the magnitude of the violations that have been meted out on Kenyans. I think in the midst of everything, we get, taken up by the success, the dismissal of the cabinet, the withdrawal of the finance bill, and we forget to remember that people have paid with their lives and limbs for us to be where we are today, and they must never be forgotten. In a number of instances, some were even, approached. I remember we were at the burial of David Chege, and the police officers were there. And we had just gone there to drape the coffin with the flag and to give another flag to the family. And the propaganda that was going around was that this is supposed to be for the KDF only, this, the flagging of the coffins and everything. And they were told that if you bury your person with the flag, the government will later come, to exhume and get the flag. So there are things that are being said out there that are completely out of line. And I think it's important for us, and we were discussing, to remind Kenyans that this is an opportunity. We are supposed to be extremely lucky and, honored to be living in these times. Because no other generation, this moment has never been there. So what we need to do is to continue encouraging each other and pushing each other forward. I think it was Kindiki who said that, the financiers, fellow criminals, power! Fellow criminals, power! And I remember they were threatening us, I don't know who, the financiers, the organizers, the planners, you will face the consequences. Well, guess what? Hatutishiki, sindio? Nani ameanguka, sini wao ameanguka. So we are saying, this is a moment, and each and every one of us can play a role. The question that we need to ask, what are you doing to bring forward this change?
Okay, Hussein, I'd like to come back to you shortly, but I want to get to Gloria first on the question of the flags and the killings and those who lost the limbs. But Gloria, on the question of people getting arrested for protesting, I remember seeing the first day or the Tuesday, droves and droves of people getting picked up and being put, in police vehicles, carted away to police stations. I want you to talk to me about this moment, about what does that moment mean legally, and what was the violation with that moment, and why do we keep seeing it?
Thank you so much, Alan, for that. And I would like to say that the Law Society of Kenya has, that day, it was a sad day for us, because that Tuesday, what happened was we had gone for a memorial for Honorable Monica, who was killed in the hands of the police. And we were called and we were told, we even had not set up the toll-free line for people to call advocates. And we were called that there are some advocates who have been arrested and they're in Central Police Station. And we asked ourselves the pertinent question. That time I remember we were with Steve and Tess, and we asked ourselves the question, why are we going to release only lawyers while people who have been peacefully demonstrating have been arrested? And I think we had a discussion with the president, and she said, yes, let's go bail them out. And I remember when going there, we didn't expect what we saw on that day. So we went to the police station, and we actually asked to be given the list of the people who have been arrested and their charges. And I remember it was a back and forth, and now lawyers from certain groups were called, come, let's release these people. And actually, when they saw lawyers there, they saw us as a threat, because we are going to release the people who have been causing trouble, quote unquote, trouble to them. So when we went there, we tried talking, they tried calling the president and saying, just tell your people to go till 6 p.m. And we asked them, why till 6 p.m.? Has the law been suspended till 6 p.m. that we can only release people after 6 p.m.? And when we demanded to stay with the people who have been arrested in the police station, they threw tear gas at us. I remember even one of our council members, Otto, they threw canister, the tear gas canister at her. So the lawyers have been really harassed in this whole process. We saw even the other day in Nanyuki, where they had gone to actually take, because this guy, I think Lewis, they were looking for Lewis and they were harassing him, going to his home, banging his door. And they decided, okay, let's take him to the police station. And when they went, they were all chased away. Lawyers were chased away and they were told, no, we want to speak to Lewis alone. And they said no. And it became a commotion. And they started beating the lawyers and chasing them out of the police station. So what does it mean? It is very lawful, especially for what had been happening in the first times of the demonstration, where people were coming out peacefully. They are just with their water bottles, they are just singing, chanting, and they were not causing any kind of fracas. And I think the government had not seen such kind of a thing. They thought everything will be organized, will be uniform, but when they saw large numbers coming and they were wondering, how can we contain these numbers? Because they thought it will just be like the normal ones, and by 2 p.m. they're at home, or 3 they're at home. So I think we need to defend the Constitution, and we are saying peaceful protesters, and that is the case we have seen all through. Peaceful protesters are being arrested, and that is what we are standing for, that you cannot just be arrested for exercising your right.
Right.
Yeah.
Irungu, to keep up on this space, the police not only threw tear gas, but they were shooting live ammunition, rubber bullets, beating up protesters. But most importantly, we also saw police without uniform, completely face covered up, somehow mingling with the protesters, and the arrest, shoot, and perhaps some of those abductions happen in these moments. I want to ask you about what should the police be doing during protests, and what we just went through, just how illegal this whole is, and what can we do anything about it, or it's just a matter of, well, we reflect and then you say, well, that something bad has really happened, we need to move on.
So the illegalities in terms of policing that we saw over the last month or so did not start then. I think we have to go back to 2023. We have to go back to 2017. And we have to ask, why is it in a point where the state is being challenged on the basis of corruption, on the basis of inequality, on the basis of impunity? Why does the state respond so violently to peaceful protest? And as Amnesty International, we monitored with the Kenya Medical Association and Law Society, and of course many organizations here under the auspices of the Police Reforms Working Group. And we saw the pattern of policing essentially was to destroy the possibility of a peaceful protest. How that starts is commanding officers failing to accept letters of notification. The second thing that happens is you arrest anybody you suspect to be an organizer. Now, what is a protest organizer? A protest organizer is also a marshal. It is the person who makes sure that when we write a letter to the OCS and we say, we are going to move from this point to this point, we are going to approach this government office, and we are going to hand over a petition here. That is the person that controls the crowds. So once you take those two quick actions, you immediately send a protest into confusion. And we have said this so many times to commanding officers, to the more senior police officers, that as soon as you disrupt that process, you have thrown a peaceful protest into something that is not provided for within Article 37. The second stage is to have police officers coming like criminals, either in balaclavas or without identification, or with vehicles that have 4 or 5 license plates, and they embed themselves. They pretend to be protesters in order to arrest protesters, or they pretend to be journalists in order to arrest journalists, or they tear gas medical officers. This is what we saw this time, where we set up pop-up emergency clinics, essentially for medics, volunteers, not even paid by government, to basically provide treatment, not just to protesters, but to bystanders and also police officers, let's not forget. And what happens is you tear gas them, you arrest people like Brandon, you then seize their medical records so that they can't even follow up with patients. And then the question is, for me, is actually who is behaving as if this is a riot? Who is providing the riotous activity? Who are the criminals that need to be prosecuted? So to end this point, I think there are many things that we need to do. We need to crowdsource, identify those officers. We need to bring cases against those particular officers individually, plus their commanding officers, to ensure that they are held accountable, not just for the deaths, not just for the injuries that Hussein has spoken about, but even for the violation of the right to protest and the right to expression. The previous panel spoke about the horror of having people coming to collect them in the middle of the night. That also needs to be prosecuted, because the freedom of expression is what makes us human beings. It is not just that the Constitution protects it, but you are not a human being if you cannot think independently, if you cannot articulate yourself, and if you cannot take action in order to protect a Constitution that we all voted for.
Okay, right. So I want to go back to the point about, and we sort of systematically talk about not just the people, but the role of the flag, as you had brought it up. And my question is this: who owns the Kenyan flag?
Hiyo ni swali rahisi sana. Kenyan flag belongs to the people of Kenya. It's not a government item. It's not. It's ours. When you talk of black, it's us. It's the color of our skin. When you talk of red, it's the blood shed, and we continue to shed to this moment, to this very day. And green is our land, you know. So I mean, I find it absurd for anyone to even imagine or to tell us that you can't do this. This is a preserve of a few individuals, only the leaders. These are today's Mau Maus. When you are Mekufa, we are seated here today having this conversation here at Fungamano in their honor, because they died so that we can be here today. And one thing I want to communicate is that even with the families that we have been going to, you know, you can see that, you know, that resolve and that pride that they have. When you go there with the flag and you're draping the flag over the coffin, and they say, wow, our son did not die for nothing. He didn't just die like that. He died truly fighting for this country. And when you go to the family, when you're handing over the flag, you can actually feel, you know, everyone there holding the mother, the father, the family in pride. So later, wasitutishe, iyo tunawaambia, you know, anyone we need to hang. In other countries, people hang these flowers in their backyards. They are there on their doors. And here we are being told that if you display the flag or if you put it sijui, it's an offense. My foot, I mean, we can't have that. Wasitutishie, this is our country, and that is why we need to reclaim. For me, I'm a grassroots person. I'm not much of a talker. But you know, everyone, this is the time. Hakuna kitu yenye hatuwezi fanya. Hata kama kila mtu anataka ice cream, sasa tunaenda tunaambia serikali hiyo tax, nunulia kila mtu ice cream. I mean, you can't tell us anything. So not just the flag, everything, even the emblem. Ukitaka kuvaa kofia uweke nini, it is yours. So hiyo mambo ya kutishana, that fear is gone. When we lose our fear, thank you very much.
Gloria, same question. What is this problem with flag, and why do we have this sense of belief, and especially the security forces and the guys who run government, that they own this item, exclusively theirs?
Sorry?
They think they own this item. It's a government product.
One, we need to remember it's a symbol of this country. And if it was illegal, I think I'll be the first one in this place, kushikwa.
Some illegalities
I have
here.
used it, yes, I have used it as a lesson, but not necessarily, but showing my patriotism to this country. We walk around with the bracelets, the Kenyan bracelets, but it has never been a problem. Everyone in the UK, you can identify a Kenyan from one when you just see that bracelet. But right now, when we are using it at this time, it becomes a problem. Then I think we are not the problem. They are the problem, and I think they should deal with it. And this is just speaking because we have had, we see people putting the flags on their cars. Right now, they're even ashamed of putting those flags in their cars because we will flag them na tutaanguka now. So I think it is not a problem right now. And carrying your flag is patriotism. They did it very proudly, and now we are the ones saying we the people are taking it proudly, and we are carrying our flags, and let them know that we have the power in our hands. And I think one of them, the symbol, is our flag.
Mm-hmm. Irungu, same question, and I will come to the audience to get some reactions to it, and also we are doing this on Space and live on NTV as well, so we'll go to that to get your comments, and this is our conversation. Irungu, the same question really about this piece of item, the flag.
Let me step back and then come back to the flag. So in a crisis, all nations have three choices. The first is to twist towards constitutionalism, the second is to twist towards authoritarianism, and then the third choice is anarchy. Now, what this movement has done has twisted towards constitutionalism. In constitutionalism, there are things that are non-negotiable. One of the non-negotiables is the Constitution, that all our actions, all our thoughts are captured in that place that we call a Bill of Rights. And it is clear to me when I saw those crowds marching with constitutions and police officers without a single constitution among them, but with batons, I began to see the righteousness of what was happening on our streets. Consider that in a context where the state wants to disenfranchise you, the first thing it will do is it will tell you there are certain symbols of patriotism, of nationhood that do not belong to you. The flag does not belong to you. It is okay if you don't take a voter's card, or you lose your ID and don't bother to get another one, or you don't volunteer in a school clinic, in a school nearby you, or you do not volunteer in a clinic to oversee a public resource that keeps our people safe and dignified, or you don't volunteer at all. That is what a state tries to do, to remove that section in the Constitution that has expressed itself so loud in the last 3 weeks, and that is Article 1. If you do not seize this moment, not just as I think it was the president who spoke about this. If we do not seek this moment, if we do not grab this moment as a moment for the third liberation, then we are going to squander this moment more generally. So I would say to those cabinet secretaries that are waiting, that are lobbying, and perhaps if they follow the same route that they took in 2027 and 22, that are beginning to put money together to buy a cabinet secretary seat, if they do not come with new ways of working, then consider they have come to reap where they did not sow. And they are coming essentially not to build on this constitutional movement, but to take us back to a place that we did not want to do. So wear your flag. If necessary, have a flag, have an outfit made from the flag, and let's walk around with underwear, trousers, t-shirts, and jackets.
Okay, great. Let's get a reaction from Space. I think Masika is online. Masika, could you tell us what your reflections of this protest were, and then I will come to the audience here to get their reflections as well.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate. Hope I'm audible enough.
You're great.
Yeah, so I really appreciate that we are having the Citizen Assembly, and one of the key things that we note clearly is that things have changed, times have changed. We are no longer in the olden days. I was listening that bit on the police and the police upholding the law. And maybe one of the things that the LSK can be helping us to know, because I think the police are enforcing the law, but they don't know the law. Because when you ask a police officer why they are arresting you, some of them clearly do not know even the procedure of arresting, whether you're a criminal or a suspect or something like that. Do they have it in their curriculum? Because these guys go in the training camps to do martial arts, to do work on how to use batons to beat up people. But when you ask a police officer to uphold the law when they are arresting you, do they have the knowledge of applying that law? So for me, that has been a question, because the problem with the police begins at the time of recruitment, because you look at even the people that the recruiters are looking for, then you clearly know that is where the rain starts beating us. Me personally, I did very well in O-level and I wanted to join the police, but I was removed from the line because I was told that I needed to go to university and study. But I needed to become a police officer, whether I started as a serviceman and then later on be promoted, but they refused because of my grade in Form 4. So one of the things that we need to push, even as right now, because our voices are being heard, and this is how it's going to be, can we have anybody, even if I got an A in Form 4 and I want to become a police officer, I be allowed to become a police officer at whatever level I'm beginning? Because we have graduates who got A's and they do not have jobs and they're doing border work. So if I got an A and I want to become a police officer, they should allow me to join the forces. Because one of the things that we are battling with is some of the guys that I'm not saying that if you scored less in Form 4, you don't have brains, but clearly most of the people that we meet in the police and they are arresting you, you can clearly tell that they do not even have the ability to engage with you and tell you why they are arresting you. They just come using muscles and power. So one, I think the police do not have the knowledge of the same law they follow only commands that they are given. So when you say you're doing a peaceful demonstration according to Article 37 and you're not destroying any property, is that police officer who is arresting you aware that there's such Article 37 in the Constitution? Because that is where the rain begins beating us. Can we have the law, part of the law trained to the police officers who enforce the law? And then arrest, I want to think, arrest should be done the open, and somebody should be notified, because we are having abductions and the police are picking people from the street and their homes. Can we have, if you arrest me, please allow me to notify my family members that you have arrested me and where are you taking me? So as I finish on that police thing, I think the failure of the police starts at the place where you're recruiting them, and it also continues because of the curriculum they use to train the police officers. And then when I come on the flag thing, the flag is a national symbol. The same way we sing national anthems. I have a national anthem on my phone as the ringtone. Why am I not being questioned? The Constitution, I think, is Article 9 just says national symbols. It says the coat of arms, the national anthem, the flag. It is patriotism for me to put on, like somebody is saying, I can even do an underwear showing the national flag. It is the love of my country and the symbols that represent my country. So I think on the flag thing, it's an intrusion. We can use the flag in whichever way, as long as we are not disrespecting it. We're just using it to show the love that we have for the country.
Thank you very much. I need to hand over the microphone to one person next, then I come back here. Sylvia Ngati. Sylvia, if you can take 1 minute and give us your reflection as well. Do I still have Sylvia? All right. Meanwhile, let me just give the gentleman here the microphone. Please say your name. Stand up. Say your name and tell us what your reflections are.
Thank you very much. Comrades power.
Power.
Now I want us to do it a little differently. When I say people power, you say our power. People power.
Our power.
People power.
Our power.
Our power.
People power.
I want to make quick reflections. My name is Musila John Muisio, and I coordinate a social movement. This is the Activista movement. But I'm equally a member of the Kibera Social Justice Center. And there is a panel that came just before your panel, and these guys were speaking there, Billy, Nadia, and the other. And all they did before was to be on social media. They just used to tweet on things that pleases them. And for the first time being on social media, attracted problems to them, that they were abducted and all that. And I wanted to ask them a question, and I think I still need to ask a question to the room. Would they have seen themselves in a state that they've seen themselves, or found themselves now? And the obvious answer could have been no. If it were me or Apiolal and a few others, being arrested today will not be a scare to us because we've been on the streets a number of times. Some of us have been arrested and all that. What has really happened with this movement, it has redefined what human rights defense is. This is not a career. Human rights defense is everyone's call to be an active citizen and demand service, demand accountability from its government. And so when I see young people today, every day spending every second on social media to just speak on issues of accountability from their government, I am so elated because it is no longer about a few who held the title human rights defense. But before I sit down, I want to make another just quick reflection. You've seen just the other day that the opposition joined the president to try and protect their interest. In 1975, before J.M. Kariuki was killed, he made a very simple statement that Kenya had become a country of 10 millionaires and 10 million beggars. Now today, the beggars have united against the millionaires of this country. And all they are saying, enough of you taking advantage of us. And it started very simply by rejecting the finance bill. So my last statement, smart as I sit down. The framers of the Constitution 2010, and I will read because I have posted it on my Twitter, said but a few things. That the greatest threat to liberty in Kenya is an all-powerful central government where only a few dictate the many. We've seen what the president has done in even curtailing the powers of our National Assembly, our legislature, which is a separate wing of government that should be holding this same executive to account. And this is because he is taking us back to an all-powerful central government, which the Constitution actually is against. But they were equally very cautious to realize that the rule of the mob, which is unguided at times, will lead to anarchy and, in the end, despotism. I know as a country that respects its constitution, we wouldn't want to get there. So as we've been pushing, we are equally very cautious not to allow anyone an excuse to say, I turned this country into a military state because the mob did not want to be guided. I turned this country into a dictatorship because the mob insisted into it. So we are pushing, demanding for good governance, demanding for accountability. We are not relenting because, as always, people power is greater than the people in power. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you. Just give the microphone to the gentleman in a suit at the back.
Thank you. Viva, comrades, viva. Viva. Amandla. Yes. Thank you so much. Comrade, I just have an observation in form of a question. That, of course, we are doing well with the national government. But there's a group of people who are really devolved and in touch with our people, or the proletariats in the villages, back in the counties. I was saying that, comrades, let's not forget the counties. That is the people who are also interacting with our people back there in the villages. So after this struggle come from the national, we go back to the county government so that we fight this nepotism and fight for transparency and accountability. I want specifically to appreciate Aki Africa. I was there, smart, I'm traumatized up to date. This guy is so quiet, I don't know what he's using, I'm shocked. They took me to a mortuary, I ran away with this gentleman during Rex and Evans postmortem. I don't know you are made of what. All those parents were crying on their chests. I was shocked to see them still walking. I was shocked on the hardest day of the strike. You know, on Thursday, few people came. Among the few who came, and Shakira and the rest, now to notify us and to get us very, very easy on Thursday. I remember those guys were going to an extent of tear gassing where people were being treated. You are just wondering, what kind of human being is this? This is a place where people are now being treated, please. And they're even going ahead to tear gas a petrol station. We are at the corner of the total there. It was quite unfortunate. Please, comrades, the question I wanted to ask with care and with utmost humility, how can we organize this struggle in a way that we don't lose the gains made and we don't lose the focus? Because if we end up in the morning, someone is saying we fight for this, fight for that, fight for this, fight for positions, then we are going to lose this focus, and these guys are going to run away with all the gains that we have done, what? We have made. So I was just pleading with those in the panel, if you can guide the conversation to a clear focus, because now there are also political rivals who are taking advantage of this thing. Like someone is planning to vie for 2027. What is the next thing? 20 to Salami and Ani. You're getting? Not for the struggle, but for the narrow, self-seeking interests. That was my plea. Otherwise, Aki Africa, may God bless you. And I'm pleading, colleagues who are seated there, how can you debrief? I'm a teacher by profession. Some people who came for the struggle didn't even know the road. I was shocked, someone asking me, amefika Ngara anauliza wapi barabara ya kwenda Kabete. You can tell you. When we are taking that roundabout to Nyayo, wale waliangusha fence, those who are falling down, wale waliona, they are still, I still feel the smell of blood mpaka saizi. So how can we debrief these people by counseling them? Because some people may also turn violent after this one, because some wengine wako wamezoea that kind of exposure. I remember one girl alitoka tu nyuma tu akaanza kupiga kelele na nduru, watu wakimfuata. Watu wakimfuata tu nyuma tu. Ni kama ako possessed. So how can you also organize that we have centers, we communicate, where these people can come and we get guidance and counseling? May God bless the struggle.
Thank you. Can you take your brief as well and keep it a minute or less?
Brief. Comrades power. Comrades power. Now, I want us to trace the bullet that was in David Chege's head. Back to the trigger, to the magazine, to the command, Adamson Bugay, to Japheth Kome, and we make it very clear where the accountability stops. My point is this. The person who is ultimately responsible for all the death, the destruction, is the president. Okay? Let's not make excuses. Let's not say the police, the police, the police. They are individually culpable. But ultimately, it's the president who takes responsibility. Ruto must go. Ruto must go. As I finish, I think the problem we have, and I'll put this to the panel, I think we have a country that is lacking ideology. And please, civil society, help us define the ideology for this revolution. Because we have inherited a system, colonial government and governments after, where governance is about brutality, repression, plunder, and pillage. So can we have an ideology moving forward so that when we fight, when we occupy spaces, we're occupying spaces knowing the Kenya that we are fighting for is defined by this certain set of values. Otherwise, without values, we'll get back, certain politicians will come back, and we'll have the same battle over and over again. Thank you. Ruto must go.
All right. Can I get ladies in the room, please? So bring the microphone to the front. Yes.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's good afternoon, I think. My name is Mirna. I'm a forensics specialist. I've had the privilege of working for government, working outside of government, and now I work as a consultant, and I'm sure Hussein is laughing because he knows there's a place we met. I have a question, slightly, okay, the two issues. He brought up a forensic issue, but my question, I think it's just an issue of reflection. Since the start of the protests, I've been wondering, and when I go into every office, I see the picture of the president. I don't mean any disrespect, but is that also a symbol of, that is compulsory? You understand, like, I wonder why I don't see the picture, a framed beautiful picture of the Constitution of Kenya, of the preamble signed by the Kibaki. I mean, that is what we give the president to uphold. That is his custodianship in terms of mandate when you are a president. So I think we have to do away with the frills, with that kind of, self-aggrandizement, idolatry somewhat, because it's also, it's behavior modification. You keep seeing this image, and instead of seeing the Constitution, instead of seeing the rules by which we want to govern ourselves as a society, we see a person. And so none of us can get away with seeing this person, either at national government level, offices, public offices, private sector offices, county governments. I think it's time for us to put the symbols of power by the people where they should be, and the symbols that need to be transitioned out, as my dear comrade has said, is then moved towards what's the ideology of this revolution. I would say we need accountable governance. We don't just need governance, we have governance. We try to use elections to eliminate people. I would say this, eliminate them out of the competition. Elections have been used to vote people out, but we don't vote in the person we want, because we don't see the person we want. We are just left with two choices, and we choose the lesser, I don't want to say it. Someone said the other day that mababas wa Eve, So, we can't do that anymore. And when I think about all these things, I'm just like, this country is a beautiful country. We have, with everything that has happened, we are here. We are a regional power, we are respected, and we need to move forward from that. But we are now stuck because there is no accountable governance mechanisms in every agency of government, parastatals, sagas, and our priorities are just simply upside down, and our foreign policy is dictated not by us, but by others. And I'm like, we cannot continue like that. We don't want to be the princes that are being ruled by fools. I worked in government for many years. Merit is secondary or tertiary to networks and connections. You cannot change the system from the inside. I tried. I was in government for more than 11 years. You cannot climb. In all those years, I never saw a budget. We were never told, write a budget. You don't prepare for results. What is a planning for results process, or what they would call the equivalent performance contracting? And so it's hard to even appraise people. When people come and say, okay, what have you done? Where is your appraisal? There's no appraisal, right? So I think the ideology should be accountable governance, and if we want justice and we want independent investigations, when I say forensic, say evidence management. Forensic. Evidence management. Who is in charge of evidence management in this country? You cannot have the potential perpetrator be the same person as the investigator. And right now, the National Forensic Lab is in the hand of the National Police Service.
All right.
So you cannot investigate crime and conduct the scientific analysis of that evidence.
Okay.
So half the evidence is sitting with families, and we are here, outside the system, and half the evidence is inside the system.
Thank you very much. I have decisions to make. I have many people on space, and I have many people here. And I have audience here. Do I have a lady? I'll come back. Don't worry. We're here. I'll come back. Let me go to space, get one comment, because they're also participating and they want to be here. Daniel, if you can make your comments in a minute or less. Do we have Daniel? Okay, so we'll come back. But let me just get quick reactions to this so to move the conversation forward. Start with you, Irungu. I'm told Daniel is here. Daniel, can you hear us? Please make your comment. Yes.
Thank you so much. So I want to go one step back and look at the Constitution. So when we inaugurated the Constitution, what we did was that we changed who has power. We clarified that, we the people, right? And what's happening now and what you're seeing in this movement, we want to now define and clarify what power does, because now it's clear who has the power, we the people. And going forward, this movement continues to clarify, what power does. Now, what we need to do going forward, I think, this is my opinion, is that we need to make being in public or being in public office so undesirable for somebody who doesn't like to be made accountable. So undesirable such that the only people who get attracted to those offices are people who are open and are willing to account. And that's the biggest problem that we have with corruption. And that's the biggest problem that we have with the police and so on and so forth. Now, one question before I go, and this is a question to the panel. I'd like to understand, we are the children of Kibaki. We came, this generation millennials and Generation Z. We came with a free education, and I said this in my TED talk a few years back, that we have had a 360-degree Kenyan experience. Unlike our parents, we have the full consciousness of feeling Kenyan. Many of us don't even speak our mother tongue, or our primary languages are national languages. We have lived everywhere in the country, and we have a full 360-degree Kenyan experience. With also digital media, it has culminated with this consciousness of political consciousness. Now, the question is, how can we, going forward, manage this movement? We know that part of the reason why we are seeing many changes is also because we have a debt issue. And the cancelling of the financial bill, and also we've seen that Moody's has also downgraded our credit rating, and we will have a problem with money. And usually when there's austerity and a problem with money, the regime might use that as an excuse to bring some sort of social injustice by denying services to the people who are most needy with the excuse that we don't have money, right? And some reforms can be difficult to push through because the president will say we don't have money. So how are we going to continue making the government accountable, but also waking up the debt issue and managing our country through this very difficult situation? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I want to start with you, but let me start with Hussein because it's just about to drop off. Hussein, could you just give a quick reaction of what you've had?
Thanks, Matt. And I apologize because I have to dash out to go to the mosque. But I want to agree with Musila John. I think all of us have to be and to make a resolve to become human rights defenders. I think for many years, we've been out there for many years. You're actually protesting on an issue that affects every citizen. And you actually see people in the pavement just watching what you're doing. That has been the culture, that has been the tradition in Kenya for years. But right now, and we have to give credit where it's due, Gen Zs, it doesn't matter what your background is. Awendu ambiwe, mtetezi tutete. They're saying they are the watetezi. Kila mtu, and we have to give credit to the Gen Zs because they've stood up. And they've said, we will take back our country. Some of us, we've been arrested, we've been beaten, we've been blacklisted, but then people would just come back and tell you, great, you're doing good work. And continue. And isn't this your country? So for the Gen Zs, for that change, We give credit where it's due, and we tell you hongera, and let's keep on with that. The second point was on debriefing, my brother, very, very true, particularly for the families. We've really been trying to work with the Kenya, I think, Association of Counselors and Mama Kennedy, particularly, for example, the 12-year-old boy who was killed. He had actually asked to go and pick a book. He was supposed to do his homework. One of, I don't know, if you look at the artwork that he does, and the mother keeps looking, and we have to remind ourselves of what has happened. The 16-year-old, the mother is so devastated. I mean, some of us, tunasema, we are in this, but those families that have been affected, please, if you're near a family, if you're near someone who is injured or who has been affected, please reach out. This is the time for us to stand firmly together. You ask yourself, what can I do? There is so much you can do. Just going to visit someone and telling them, umeumia kwa niaba yetu, asante sana, that can make a whole world of difference. So let's be there for each other. Let's be our brothers and sisters keepers. And last but not least, I think we were in one of the funerals, Boniface Mwangi said, let's replace the pictures of the president with the flag. But I think this addition is extremely important, the Constitution. So the flag and the Constitution is what each and every person should have hanging somewhere in our house, not the president's photo. I mean, and we have LSK here. Could you please confirm to us that it is not illegal to have a picture or the Constitution somewhere in your house or in your business? Is it illegal? It is not illegal. So we make a resolve here today, the Ufungamano resolve, that we remove the picture of the president and we put the picture of the flag and of the Constitution of Kenya, and those shall be what we refer to as symbols of national unity. Thank you very much, and I apologize. If you could release me so that I can go for prayers.
Thank you very much, Hussein, and thank you very much for your comments. A round of applause for Hussein as he leaves the panel, please. Please.
I think I'll first respond. The first person asked of the rights of arrested persons and if the police actually do know the rights of arrested persons. I do believe that in their training, it's very extensive that the police actually know the rights of arrested persons and they are taught in their schools or whatever trainings they do. What I think they do is they deliberately choose not to put that into practice. We have had the president here saying they have had trainings among trainings among trainings. And we are saying we don't want trainings anymore. The police have been trained enough and they know. But what they are doing is following a command. And that's what we see. When we go to the police station, I remember even the other day when I was speaking to lawyers, I was telling them, people do not know actually of their right to remain silent when they are actually arrested by the police officers. And this is something I think we should pick up. And we have been saying that human rights defenders and only lawyers are the ones to defend the Constitution. But remember, this was passed by each and every one of us in 2010. And one of it was Article 49, where when you're arrested by a police officer, they are supposed to identify themselves and tell you why they are arresting you. I saw Bonnie laughing here because it is not known in Kenya. So I think it's about time that we take a stand, that we say when you arrest us, you tell us. We have seen now when we said reject finance bill, imeangushwa. Or we have said we need to see a change in leadership, imeangushwa. So I think it's about time that we also bring awareness and let the police know that we are watching. When you arrest us, you're not telling us why you're arresting us. And let us gather, and all of us, let's go and defend this person and say they were not given their right to be told of the offense they were charged, they have been arrested with, and they are not being given. We have had here Crazy Nairobian saying he refused to give his passwords. Naka walimsalimia vizuri sana. And we are saying it was his right to remain silent. So it's also, I think, it calls upon also the law society and the civil societies also to teach people of their rights when they are arrested. When the police officer asks you a question, you do not have to respond. When they tell you to do statements, you do not have to, because it is your constitutional right. And right now, we even fear of telling people it is your constitutional right to remain silent, because when they remain silent, we don't know if they are going to die, them exercising their rights, or what. But we need to remember, they cannot kill all of us. They cannot kill all of us. And we are not going to do the police work. Yes. We are not going to do police work, because they're the ones who are supposed to do investigations, not us help them with investigations when they arrest us. So that is also a right. So I think it's good that we hold them accountable. And I think one of the things also they said, we need also to hold individual police officers accountable. I think it has not been done enough in Kenya for police actually to know when you violate or threaten to violate a right for a citizen, you can actually be held accountable. I saw in the Twitter spaces, Baby Pendo, the case was being done, I think was it last week, where Willis was saying those police officers were begging not to be arraigned in court and take plea. This is what we need to see in Kenya. And not after so many years. We have seen from when Baby Pendo died, this is the time they are being taken to court. I think those are the issues we need to hold accountable. The ones who will be held accountable for all this protest and whatever is happening, what we need to ask is quick investigation and them being arraigned in court. Because when we go to the streets, tukishikwa, tunapelekwa immediately, where the investigation, the 1-year inquiry and things like that. I think that is what we need to stand on, and I think we need to stand on business on that and keeping the government accountable.
All right, thank you. Erungu, would you wind this list on for us?
So when Denzel Washington saw Will Smith slap the other comedian, he made this comment where he said, "Be careful. At your point of triumph, it is when the devil comes for you." I think for this movement, those words are important. There could be a temptation at this moment to rest, to even become egotistical and to gloat. But we have to recognize that what we're up against is not even individuals. It is a system that is built around the idea that only a few can take decisions on behalf of the many. That idea is unlawful in our Constitution, because Chapter 1 tells us that it is the people that have the power. The problem is that we have a country that is not designed around our Constitution. And we have a Constitution that continues to look for a country that actually reflects the constitutional values in that Constitution. So my word to this movement is to remain inside of the soul that you generated for this country. And that soul was courage, lawfulness, patriotism, and a sense of purpose. So we have to think very carefully about how do we dismantle a system so that other people do not come and confuse us, at the same time keeping the same system that we were worried about. So we have to think about a number of things. As we challenge or as we rebelled against a taxation bill, that taxation bill has to be generated again. And we hope it will be a new one. But the question is, are we there at the table to demand what will be in that taxation bill? Do we understand the cycle of budgeting? Because whether it be at the county level or whether it be at the national level, that budgeting process will happen. And the people that you have now challenged, they are waiting for you to go back to sleep. They are waiting for you to think you have won so that they can produce another budget that pays tenderpreneurs and creditors, foreign creditors, before it thinks about Kenyans. They're waiting for you to sleep so that they can change the police personnel, transfer a few people, and have the same violence come back a year or a few months from now. So I think what we have to do is be diligent and think about what are the propositions, what are the ideas that we are organizing around, and make those ideas so strong and so powerful that it's not just one generation who will fight for them, but our father's generation, our mother's generation will also fight for them. And just for that message, just for that point, a few days ago I got a text from a former freedom fighter, and he reminded me that that was the reason that they went to the forests, to have a generation rise up and take back their country when they felt that they had lost their country. More power. More power. More power. The Gen Zs are not orphans. They have parents who protect them, who gave them money, who are so proud of them today. But let me just say that there are grandparents also that have seen what is capable of this generation and are now looking forward to that alpha generation to see what will come next. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. A better applause for the panel, Gloria and Irungu Houghton. Thank you very much. You've all done very well. Really appreciate your time and your thoughts. Allow me now to welcome for the transitional period before we get to the next panel, the President of the Commonwealth Lawyers Association, Dr. Peter Maynard, to take a minute or less to give us some reflections. A round of applause, please, for Dr. Maynard. You're next.
Goyodera.
Yeah?
Goyodera.
Okay.
Reverend Goyodera.
D'accord. You can use this. Hey, how are you? Sure. You can use the podium.
He wants you to make some remarks.
Okay.
Yeah. Just give it a okay.
Asante Sana for the very warm welcome. I'm Peter Maynard. I'm president of the Commonwealth Lawyers Association, which is a group of 56 jurisdictions around the world, including Kenya. And I had intended to visit Kenya some time ago, and so I thought it'd be appropriate to come now, also before the meeting of the Law Society of Kenya elections. No to police brutality. No to extrajudicial killings and abductions. Those are some of the fundamental principles of the Commonwealth Lawyers Association. Our objectives are simply to uphold human rights, the rule of law, access to justice, and the independence of judges and lawyers. And so I make just 2 points that we have observed the situation with great concern, and in solidarity with the Law Society of Kenya, we have also issued a statement, a statement condemning the arrest, abduction, and killing of civilians. I wish to say that we are supportive of the Constitution and the rule of law. I encourage you all to continue to recognize the importance. You see, Kenya, from an outsider's perspective, Kenya has one of the most progressive constitutions in the world. But constitutions are just words. It's important for individuals, institutions, both government as well as protesters, to continue to recognize and implement the Constitution. My perspective is a little different in Kenya. I am inspired by my late grandmother, who was born on a slave plantation. She was raised by her grandmother because her father had been killed by the colonial authorities, and also her mother had gone away to look for work. And so I have been raised in a den of human rights activists. We have recognized the importance for economic transformation and also political transformation. And so as a teenager, I came to Kenya for the first time because Kenya has been an inspiration to the Global South and continues to be an inspiration to the Global South. And I encourage you to continue that because economic transformation will come through you. And so we also are concerned with making the CLA, my organization, fit for purpose, and particularly fit for the purpose of transforming the Global South, fit for economic transformation, fit for political transformation. And so I commend the human rights activists among you. I commend the Law Society of Kenya and the judges. You've had the CJ Emeritus, is a very admirable figure. The President incumbent is also very admirable. And so at this challenging time, I encourage everyone to remember constitutionalism, to continue to give meaning to a very effective and powerful Constitution of Kenya, to continue to give effect to the rule of law. After all, we are after economic transformation, political transformation, in a setting of constructive dialogue, constructive engagement. Rule of law and governance are so very important. Understanding human rights and also human rights obligations. They're both sides, rights and obligations are so important. So with that, let me say thank you for having me here. I'm learning more and more from this very constructive session. And the Commonwealth Law Association continues to be in solidarity with the judges, with the lawyers, with human rights activists. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Maynard. Really appreciate it. Okay, all right. Let me welcome Cricket Rights to come give us the first interlude for the entertainment, then we go to the next panel. Cricket Rights, where you at?
So tutaunganisha stima, tutaunda barabara, tutajenga serikali na vijana ya bodaboda na mama mboga. So akaka slogan ikagasha goa goa. Mr. President, ni route O gani unatupeleka? Kusema education ni free na vile books ni expensive, ni ku-exercise our minds. Kusema education ni free na jana kuna mtu yalisare shule juu alikosa uniform, ni ku-exercise our minds. So unafilaje? Unafilaje saa zenye urezo wako na kuongoza national anthem na tujenge taifa, alafu Korogosho, Mathare, kwa jenga wanabomolewa. Gunshot na sauti za tinga kwa mwananchi amenyeshewa zinafanya hati zao even more weta. Alafu kuna sauti na ring kwa mind, mukinichagua hakuna kijana atapigwa risasi tena, mukinichagua hakuna mwananchi atabomolewa tena. Lakini Mkenya, soma story ya Jaramogi, utagundua Kenya bado hakuna. Wrong history kwa classes, ndio maana youths legacy ya msteka Steve wajui. Kazi tu ni biko. December 12 tuna celebrate Jamhuri Day, but story ya December 12 movement nani anainarrate? Mkenya, pambana. Time ina fly na Daily Nation ni propaganda za Orezo kwa flights kujaribu kuland jobs kwa youths. Nation ni sick, hata doctors wako mgomo. Hakuna budget ya kulipa doctors, but kuna budget ya unconstitutional CASs at cost. The Star News Bulletin, Mwakenya nilikeji kina Karemi wanatumia kupass exams za history yenye stories za kina Karari, Ndudhu zimepigwa njama na kuarrest kama role ya women kwa Mau Mau. Zakayo, maliza, uende. So policies walitype alafu zikasainiwa na ball pen na hapo ndio tulichezwa. Koti wakapiga perfume na expectaji wataheshimu court order. 21st century bado gava inatumia unga ku bribe nation kuvote. Mkulima wa kahawa na go loss after sales juu kutoa chai. So nani haoni Kenya taa? Bado hakuna. Nani hata articulate article 1 ya constitution vifiti? All sovereign power. The people ni set flani ya rulers wa protect wealth kwao. Sunday wamekrama Apostles Creed, alafu Monday greed in our drive na testimonies za vile 7 days without prayer inawafanya weak. Wewe hujasikia kiongozi wa Wanga alikuwa na bongo na bado alikuwa deceived na sweets. Mambo leo still ni ukoloni. Believe me, hata Mugabe angekuwa Kenyan hangetaka anyone amuite roba ama ni roba. So tunaishi na country whereby the president anapenda the youth but most strategic jobs anapea the old, na kwa hiyo mood still awari. Country yenye ina constitution kama ni leadership nachagua humanity kwa leader wangu. Juu kama leadership ni school degrees na certificates, basi hadi zile karatasi za Waititu zilikuwa true. Ni Fedi na Dali misinterpret. So pieces mob za peace wasanii wanaandika lakini bado hawana amani. Kiongozi mwananchi alichagua already anamfichia white. Already ana stock ya ngano ya kubandika posters time ya campaign na Turkana tunakufa njaa. Wanjiku hawezi afford kwa Rimona mkulima wa Roskoko na majani chai. Analia njaa toka time ya Nyayo. Afya center ni kama base fulani ya viongozi waendea snacks. Docs ni less, hospitals ni less na zenye ziko hazina madawa. Doc ana complain of protective gears ndio ana take ya 4M la last time. Nurses wali strike ni jana. Si wages zinafanya mwalimu kuata kidato. Si wages zina donatives ku evicted Kariobangi, Mokuru na Ruai. Onanyomoke Ruai ginya hakiri. So equality iko wapi time kuna mwenye nchi kare na kona aneka ya paki na neka smoking zone na parking large kuliko chuo fulani iko Korogosho, Dandora na Madhare. Equality iko wapi time kuna mwenye nchi karen akona aneka ya paki na neka smoking zone na parking large kuliko chuo fulani iko Korogosho, Madhare na Dandora. So tunataka police service ya police force. Utumishi kwa wote, si utumisi kwa kara wengine. Jukara wengine ni same na photographers kila time they've got a clear shot. Makara wengine ni kama kwa class walitoa sura viatu vile wamekuwa sharp shooters. Tulienda recruitment za makarao alafu tukaambiwa tuko na shida ya macho. Alafu after kutembea station tukapata afande amevaa miwani. So niambieni nani alifunga mwingine macho ama tulifungwa macho juu tulikosa za macho. So naitwa cricket rights. Naitwa Cricket Rights. Mnaweza ni follow at Cricket Rights kila platform pale YouTube. Tuzidi kusababisha, si ndio? Organize. Sasa comrades relax. Hawa wasanii nataka kuleta hapa next. Nimesikia ni wasanii wa smart kukuliko baba, so relax kidogo. Nimesikia ni wasanii wanaitwa wa Douglas wanakuja kuwa anguka nayo.
Tushasikia. Aha. Nakushasikia. Cheki. Nakushasikia kukiingia ni kubla. Uko kabado na chukula madakso. Anguka na tabaki meflo na vibe. Anguka na koko single for now. Douglas mteja patikani. Hadi late night saa 6 ndo taniwai. Nikupin location na nikofana na hii. Tunasikiza Shin City, tuna feel free. Take a video no post pale NGC. Jina ni Kantel, kurap si ni talent. Anguka nayo. Anguka nayo. Check it. Anguka nayo, twende down low now. Stand up to your feet, mikono juu alafu click. tuliza pesa alafu one lege, anguka nayo, one lege, ati anguka nayo, ati anguka nayo, anguka nayo, ati anguka nayo. Ati anguka nao kama umefeel relaxed, anguka nao kama pana new kacha, anguka nao kama patina magwasha, anguka nao ati anguka nao, anguka nayo, anguka nayo, anguka nayo, anguka nayo. Anguka tika msupa webanjuka, cheza chini kikongeza madhuja, anguka nao baby girl shaitika, dagi matisho wa daddy's babe, ama daddy, stampu serikali, juni serikali, tamka asali, mnajua ni nani, flow shabiki, domeduka hapo naoni, shi, kutekewa kwa daily meeting, ati, anguka nayo. Anguka nayo, anguka nayo, check it, anguka nayo, anguka nayo, pull up DJ, anguka nayo, check it, pull up tena, selector DJ, watu anguke nayo.
Thank you. All right. Okay, all right. So let's get to our second panel. Quite some business to do. We should have DJ. So this is what we're going to do. I've been instructed. This is the instructions I've been given. When I call the panelists, wanakuja wakianguka nayo. Comrades, true or true? True or true? Our first panelists for the afternoon. DJ with it. Ladies and gentlemen, Nayo. Help me welcome to the stage Nadia Mukami. Thank you very much. Our second panelist, kuanguka nayo, Maria Mbeneka. Nayo. here's what we need to do, friends. This moment has demanded something, right? It's demanded that we find a reflection and a point of view on how we understand what needs to happen next. Let me start with you, Maria Meneka, of how should we have a reflection on what should happen next? What are those actual steps? Given what you've seen, how do we move it forward?
Thank you, James. Okay. So I think for us to...
I don't know, Jim. Let's just see.
I think... okay, so mnanisikia? Volume. Okay, I think that's good now. First and foremost, my knees are appreciative of Gen Z. Hiyo kazi si rahisi kuanguka nayo. And I'm just glad to be alive to witness this again. And it's reminded me of why I became a lawyer in the first place. In the 90s, when I was in high school, I got my first copy of the Constitution from Maina Kiai. And I witnessed all these people getting tear gassed, getting locked up, trying to run away from the cops, Reverend Joy getting beaten up. And I asked myself, what would prompt people to be beaten and still go back? And it's the love of this country, and the Gen Z are a very significant part of Kenya's history, because we're not just, we are rebuilding this country based on this constitution that we gave ourselves. And so it's very important for us to be vigilant going forward, because the fact of the matter is that this movement is based on the rule of law. And I've seen that from the tweets, from the protests. Everybody was careful who was involved in the Gen Z protest to abide by the rule of law. And so it follows that the next steps are also guided and informed by the rule of law. The president has sent home his cabinet. And I'm very, very proud of that singular step of sending everybody home, especially the fact that the Minister for Interior was a lawyer and presided over the abductions, the killing, disappearance, and abuse of human rights. And he had the opportunity to actually cement Article 37 of our Constitution and abide by it, but the opportunity was lost on him. So the opportunity for you and for us all as Kenyans is to ensure that the weakest link, which has been Parliament, needs to be in check. Because remember, when the vetting of the new cabinet secretaries happens, it's going to be happening at Parliament. So who is going to sit, who is going to sift, who is going to analyze? Of course, there will be much more involvement by the citizenry, because it's obvious we've taken back our power, and people will be able to say, this is who we want. We want individuals who have been subjected to the provisions of Chapter 6 of the Constitution. That is non-negotiable. And going forward, vetting should not be just a by the way, because it's a foregone conclusion. It's just been like I'm looking for the words, but you know what I'm saying, that it's just been, we're a majority in Parliament, we're going to pass these names, we're just rubber stamping, we're not looking at the qualification of these people, so that's important going forward, that's what's going to happen. Secondly, what does Kenya look like now going forward? There's a recall of MPs still on the table. I know Kabete constituency have started a process. There's nothing that's stopping the citizenry from collecting signatures even as we speak. So those are processes that should actually be going forward. And the fact that people have shown interest in the finance bill, there should be bigger interest on the appropriations bill, which is now an act. Nothing stops the PSs who are still in office, who are accounting officers, from committing the budget. Absolutely nothing. So there's still a lot to be done. Eternal vigilance is the price of democracy. We cannot get tired. I must say here that I'm very, very proud of the work that Faith Odhiambo, the Law Society of Kenya, council members are doing. And civic education is important. So beyond saying that something will be done, let's be involved.
in how it will be done.
Right, and I want to move that along on the how. But Nadia, for you, what do you want to see happen next?
What do I want?
What do you want to see happen next?
We've kept talking about accountable governance for a very, very, very long time. And I will use my example. When we were getting into this industry, I mean the music industry, when you have a name, you have status, you weren't able to publicly call out a vice, call out, let's say, a leader for something they haven't done. For the first time in history, you've seen artists, you've seen influencers in the front line. Because sometimes when we sign contracts, sometimes you're told you shouldn't associate yourself with anything that is happening in the country. But for the first time, even as one of the things that I base off my career, I never want to talk about politics. But for the first time, I remember hiyo siku ya maandamano ya kwanza, nilikuwa huko, nimeangushwa, niko na hadi alama up to date. So for me, it's about accountable governance. And someone said from the X space, we need to make it so unbearable for anyone who's getting into any public office to hold the office space if you do not like accountability. So anyone that is getting into office has to be ready to be questioned, to be asked, because we are the bosses. So si eti kila siku tumekopa sijui how many billions every single day, or we are being taxed, taxes. The other day I was checking bei ya tissue paper. The last time, like, nikikuwa Mwehoko, me I'm from Mwehoko, it was 15 shillings. Sai tissue paper, hakuna tissue paper hata ya 20 shillings. The cost of living inaendelea ikipanda as a day goes by. So, kwa nini tunakuwa, like, vitu zinakuwa expensive, but the salary ni the same? You understand? Like, kama wewe ulikuwa unauza, nitasema aje? Kama tuseme ulikuwa uko na biashara yako, the moment you start raising your prices because what you're purchasing with imepanda bei, like the supplier price imepanda bei. So wewe ukiongezea customers wako, inakuwa ni ngumu for them to come back. You understand? So for me, it's about accountable governance. Let us hold every single person accountable. Yes.
All right. Accountable. Steve.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Is one thing I can say, Alan, what is happening now is what our fathers began in so many years ago. And along the way, they lost the momentum. And I think that is how we found ourselves, because the war to bring in a new constitution is a struggle that has been there for a long time. And the day the constitution was being promulgated on 10th of August 2010, the whole Africa, the whole world praised Kenya for a very progressive constitution. Everybody knew that now Kenya is politically, economically, and socially liberated. The president of Kenya, Dr. Samoei Ruto, when he was campaigning on the mantra of socio-economic justice. Article 43 of the Constitution was his anchor. When he was speaking to the youth about job employment, when he was speaking to the Mamamboga about improving their livelihood, when he was speaking to the Boda Boda rider, who is a youth, about empowerment, he was addressing Article 43. Then what have we noticed? No one is bothered about adherence to the rule of law. What they are doing is to pull things toward themselves. What do I expect to see? Scrapping off of the NGCDF, we need to do away with that unconstitutional fund, which has turned our parliamentarians to become executive puppets. Doing away with bursaries and pumping the money to the education sector. Everybody to have an equal right, because they use these goodies to buy us off, to buy our parents off. So we want to ensure that they stop assuming that we have to go and knock their doors and queue at the CDF offices, begging to get money to go to school, yet Article 43 talk about my right to education. So these are the expectations we want to see. So as he sends away the cabinet, we want to see very serious reforms, and that's why this call for serious reform is not ending, and we are not stopping, because we are coming for the throats of these parliamentarians metaphorically, because look at what happens at the Senate. They dropped the bill for the conflict of interest. Why? Because they want to continue tendering for the government. Some years back, nobody wanted to supply to the government because nobody used to be paid. Right now, they are running that cartel. That is what we want to stop. That is the Kenya we want, where everyone has an equal chance. Everyone, when you're arrested, you have a right to representation. Police respect the rule of law. Everybody respect the rule of law, because that is the equalizer for everyone, because the rule of law is better than the rule of man.
Thank you, thank you. Reverend, Goy, the same question. Can you help us figure out from where you sit, what should be these actual next steps? What would you like to see? What should we all sort of collectively try to figure out and say, this is what we think should happen?
Hi, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Yes, sir. Sorry, I wasn't introduced. My name is Gowi Odera. There are a couple of things we need to be able to recognize, James, what we are up against in this movement. One is that the president, as real colors have come out, even in his campaign, we need to recognize that a leopard does not change its spots. In the early 90s, when we were doing our clamor, we were here in Ufungamano, he wasn't here. He was part of YK2. And they were the part of our generation that were co-opted by Moi with money. When we were doing the constitution and clamor for constitution, he voted no. In fact, he said that ni kama karatasi ya kufunga nyama. So constitutionalism is not part and parcel of those who are in office. So that is what we are up against. The second thing what we're up against is a culture, all right? A culture that does not necessarily value hard work and a meritocracy in itself. So Gen Z are trying to say, we are putting in all this effort to get what we want. Now we are seeing people wakivuka line and getting there without even earning what they are. And lastly, I think a thing that we have, and the panelists have said, is accountability. And I think those are the three things we need to continue championing moving forward. What Gen Z, I'd like to be able to encourage this group of young people, this generation of young people, is recognize that this is actually a marathon. This is not a sprint. And so there are certain gains we need to make. And I think there's somewhere we need to celebrate what we have gained these past 3 weeks. And we need to celebrate that. In as much as some of our comrades have fallen, we need to celebrate this. This is a great thing, that a government can withdraw a finance bill is a big accomplishment that I'd like to celebrate what these young people have done. It is something I am proud of you. We are proud of you. And you've done something my own generation was not courageous as you to do. And you have taken this to another level.
So just to your point, as I come back this way, there's two problems here that we have to contend with. There is the question of dialogue that keeps being bandied about. I want you to speak about this question of dialogue. And then at the tail end of this process, it's a political process. So there has to be a reason